Good morning. This is a regular meeting of the Cameron County Commissioners Court, October the 10th, 2013. As we do all meetings, we'll start with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag and the Texas flag. And I would ask Commissioner Sophie Benavides to lead us in those. Please stand for the moment of silence. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Our first item will be public comment. Do we have any public comments? Anybody sign up? Nope. We're going to break protocol today and go to the action items to get it out of the way. It will be the one that you're here for the grapevine. If I can get to it. Nope, I'm missing it. Hold on. Item D, consideration and approval of the removal of an 1887 convent grapevine tree located at the Lyseca hardware store property directly across the street. Go right ahead. Welcome.
Commissioners, good morning. My name is Roberto Ruiz, and here with me is Jean Fernandez.
Gene?
We asked for this item to be placed on the agenda for consideration of a historical vine that sits on one of your properties. I'm going to let Jean give you a little brief history on this historical grapevine that you have, and I don't think that you know of it, and a lot of people don't know about this. But let me put Jean on here to let you know what it's all about.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was doing some photographing of the Lyseca hardware building about a month and a half ago, and I have a vineyard, and I'm familiar with the grapes. I've been following the convent grapevine for quite some time now. And I was taking my photograph, and all of a sudden I looked in my peripheral, and there was this vine going up the tree 20 feet high. And there's a very distinctive pattern to that grape leaf. It is a convent grape. That convent grape was brought to this part of the country by the nuns from France, from Lyon, France, of the Order of the Incarnate Word, who started the convent, and hence the convent grape. That was in 1856. Now, the Lyseca building itself was built in 1887 by James Gillespie Brown. That vine could be no younger than 1887. That is the oldest living example of the true convent grape stock that came from the old nuns and came from France. They used it for the wine of the sacrament in their ceremonies. So this vine has a trunk that is 12 to 14 inches in girth. It is an astounding vine. What we're wanting to do is take the city equipment to dig it up, transport over to Villa Maria. Villa Maria has already agreed to receive it. Sister Irma says that'd be wonderful. The old arch for Villa Maria has been placed over next to the big house, and the vine will have a residency there. We're asking for your approval to do this.
Can it be moved without damaging the?
Yes.
Has it been checked
Yeah, the
already?
rootstock doesn't go down any more than about 8 cubic feet of dirt. We're going to do a sounding in order to make sure. There are some defunct lines that are down there. We're going to have it striped in order to make certain that there's nothing of any danger. I'm going to prune it down and coil the vines in order to make it into a safe condition to move, and then we're going to take it from there.
I think we can pass on the bidding process and the request for proposals. I'll entertain
Well,
it.
they're going to do it, right?
Yeah, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing of cost to the county. You know, this is.
Oh, I know that. I'm just joking.
No, okay.
Can you guarantee that it won't die?
Beg your pardon?
Can you guarantee that it won't die?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have egg on my face all over the place if there's a 147-year-old vine that dies. But I'm good at these plants, and so I'm going to try my darndest to make it live. We're going to take every precaution in order to make it live.
I don't know if you know Gene, but Gene is the president of the Old City Cemetery Center. He's been here for many, many years. He's been very, very close to the historical aspect of anything here that happens in Brownsville. He's very familiar with the history, not only of this plant, but all these buildings that we have here in the cemetery. And again, in consideration of this, it's obviously for the Lyseca store. You know, we need to pitch that again. The county has this magnificent building right across the street that is in dire need of your attention. We have gone through a process, myself have put in some time, as well as the city and the county, but in consideration of this grapevine, I think we need to go that one step further and look and see what we need to do to have this sacred store kept. It's a historical building that you all have, magnificent, built back in 1887. It's right there across the street, and there's a lot of history to be preserved. Please consider that in addition.
Roberto, we did have a conversation with Joe Remetta a few weeks ago about the records that have been restored, all the old records.
Yes.
And we thought about using that as a depository for the old records, make it into a little museum as a historic building and the historic record. So that's something that this commission is already working on.
Commissioner, I've given a lot of time of my own volunteer time. I'd like to continue giving my time and see that this building is preserved. And let's bring out the recognition of the historical aspect of all this, in addition to this grapevine that y'all will be considered to giving us.
Thank you.
Or given to the sisters at the Incarnate Word.
Is there any legal, issues that we need to look at?
Bruce and I were just talking about it. I don't believe so, because I think this is historical, preservation, and I think that we could allow them to remove it to a place where it's going to remain and keep its.
I could go one step further, Council. I can get the Heritage Council here at City of Brownsville involved. Make sure that historically we are doing the right process and doing this transplant, if you will. If you want to, I could also check with the Texas Historical Commission, make sure that there's nothing that we are missing. But I'll follow up pending those conditions. If you do decide to approve this today, I will follow up and get those things done, and I'll check with legal counsel, make sure that we do that correctly.
As long as we don't have an issue with a historical issue
Sure.
at the building itself.
We're not spending any funds to move it.
Nothing.
And we will still own it?
It's gonna belong to the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's.
Like with Sister Irma about it, if you...
Well, I'm just asking because we can't give away county property to private entities.
Well, we're gonna get the wine from it.
You're the wine. Yes, I guarantee you a bottle of wine. Let me add a little qualifier to that. I have a vineyard of 700 grapevines on the river, and we harvest about 6 tons of grapes per year and send them to Fredericksburg. So I do this as an avocation as well.
Could you graft it and make one into many on this particular vine?
It can. It's an ancient grape. It originally was, as I said, a grape that was utilized in the making of the wine for the Blessed Sacrament. That has been bypassed by other grapes of modern hybrid nature now, but I have made wine from that grape, and I can guarantee you it's an excellent grape. It's like a rosé. It's a wonderful grape. It's not as bountiful as what you would have in modern production, but it is.
So it cannot be propagated.
Well, it can be, yes.
It
It's
can be
propagated. It's propagated, but not by seed, because when you have a seed, you have an explosion of genetics. You have to have a cutting with 3 nodes, put that in, and it's done in the normal method that it was done back in
Napa.
1857. when they
So
brought
you
it
can do that?
Yes.
You said you're gonna prune it.
Yes.
So you can actually propagate some of those prunings.
Yes. Now, typically what you have in the annual growth of a grape stock is that you do prune it every January,
Right.
and then it grows back. It's prolific. So I'm going to prune it to about a 6-foot trunk with the cordons going out. I'm going to coil those, wrap them to the trunk, and then we're going to transport it from there.
Is it Napa or Alexander quality?
I'll let you be the judge when we make our first barrel.
And we are planning to do a ceremony and recognize people that the county, the cemetery, and also the city of Brownsville for use of their space. So we will have a recognition ceremony for everybody to be present.
Well, barring that everything is okay and you check with those folks that you mentioned, I move that we approve.
Second.
We have a first by Commissioner Garza, a second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's go back to the consent. I've been asked to table item F, S, a correction on T to 2 contracts instead of 1. And there was a correction on 888, H, 3 H's, as to the dates. Is that correct, Mr. Garcia? David? That was, yeah, okay. Any other?
Yes, can you pull 2 double F,
Double
F.
what, Pete?
2 double F,
Okay.
and 2 triple K?
Okay. Mr. Hoskins? Pull E.
I have one correction. On double N, the trip for the fire marshal and investigator, they're actually leaving Sunday, the 20th, and paperwork submitted said the 21st.
Commissioners?
The agenda item says 20.
Commissioner, have
The
item
agenda item
E
is correct, but the paperwork that was submitted was
Okay.
wrong. They just asked me to correct that for you.
Okay. Have item E by Commissioner Garza. Commissioner?
Do you need a motion to approve the rest?
Yes,
I got two more.
okay, I'm sorry.
On 2YY, just to correct dates, on double Y, the correct date should be December 10th through December 13th. And on double Z, correct dates should be November 5th through November 8th.
Okay. I need a motion to approve the consent items with the corrections. That's tabling item F, S, and T, and corrections on triple H, double N, and double Y. Is that correct, Pete? That'll be all of them? I guess so. Okay. So moved? Yeah. I have a motion by Commissioner Garza,
Second.
second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we're going to pull double F. No, I'm sorry, E first. Forgot my alphabet.
I had requested that item F be pulled. That is a vehicle that the Sheriff's Department has gone to pick up, and
Item what?
item double F2FF.
Okay.
And I questioned the cost on that, and I was told by Captain Reyna that they will be removing the military Humvee from the insurance and for the fuel consumption. So it is a replacement vehicle. Captain Reyna has since spoken to me this morning, and I want the court to understand that the vehicle is being kept by the Sheriff's Department. Rather, it is being retired for all purposes. However, he has indicated that they will use it on an as-needed basis, and that they have wrecked 3 vehicles this year or something to that effect. Captain Reyna, do you have something you'd like to add?
Oh, just what Martha said, that we'd be switching that vehicle off and on the insurance coverage as needed. The Humvee and the APC that they're picking up this morning, that they're driving in this morning.
And do you have to do that on a weekly or a daily basis when you change
Oh,
it?
it's just as needed, you know.
As needed, okay. So as far as the insurance, I'm concerned about the insurance.
Yeah, we usually call up Marcelino now, and
Okay.
we'll switch them off and on when they're they're going to be stored. They're not going to be used, and whenever they're going to be used, we get with Marcelino and say we're going to be using this vehicle for X and X purposes, and then he'll allow it, and then we take it. You know, that's the way we do it.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
I got a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I'm sorry, let's go back to E.
Double N?
Double what?
Is it double N?
No, E. Double E.
Oh, double E. Okay.
We didn't do single E yet, Commissioner, I'm sorry. Consider an authorization to approve the remodeling and expansion of Cameron County Clerk's Office, Filing and Records, Vital Statistics, and Collections Department in the San Benito Branch Office, located in the Joe G. Rivera and Arroyo de la Garza County Annex Building. Commissioner?
Joe's here. I'd like just him to briefly tell us what he's doing and
Okay.
how he's cooperating with us to make this happen for us. And we're cooperating with him.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've been talking about this for the last 6 months. Our office in San Benito has really exploded. We had some pictures that we wanted to show you, but I think we'll skip that because Commissioner Garza, you've seen how much it's grown. And what we want to do is expand for a few more windows to serve the public. But the main thing is to have workstations for the public that comes in and wants to do research on their properties. Money, they never have money to do county clerk's work in our office. We're pulling out of records management, 404. I think it's going to cost something like $18,000, and we've got the money there. I think we went out for proposals. I don't know if Marcelino's here, but it's going to be at a cost of $18,000, a little bit over $18,000, and we've got the money in records management.
I know we had a handout that was given to us that kind of depicts some of the crowding that's occurring there now. And I just want to, I know that Marcelino was going to do some work, but it was going to be a delayed project because of what he's doing now. And I just want to thank Joe for offering to help us in the way he did to get this project moved quickly forward, Joe. Thank you.
And the sooner the better, because it's, we really need it.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Judge
much.
Pro Tem,
What's that?
Record
Triple-
management dollars at work.
did you table T or just make the correction on T?
On T, we made a correction.
Okay, thanks.
Item triple K. Divert Court Judge David Sanchez, Assistant District Attorney James Evan Robbins, and Defense Attorney Gustavo Ruiz to travel to Washington DC on 12/1 to 12/5 to attend Veterans Treatment Court Conference. Who pulled this one?
Martha pulled it, and the question she had was, one of the individuals traveling is not a county employee, which is Gus Ruiz. The way that the Veterans Court will work is very similar to the divert court that Judge Nelson runs. And so what they look at doing is finding all of the components be people that are veterans. The judge, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, even though it's not set up yet, when they looked around the bar for veterans, the one that was in agreement that he would assist in this adventure and promoting a veterans court was Gustavo Ruiz. He is a veteran, and I mean, he's a veteran, and he has, even though it hasn't been contracted yet and hasn't been set up, if everything gets going, he would be the defense attorney assigned to the Veterans Court. So that's why he's going to this conference.
Is there any legal reason why we can't do it, Dilbia?
We were just looking at that. I think that this would be acceptable. There is a public interest in seeing to it that these veterans are taken care of and their legal needs are met and treated fairly and whatnot with their special circumstances. So I don't have a problem with it.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Garza, second by Commissioner Benavides. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
On item 2K, the dates should be September 30th through October 3rd.
Okay. We already did that.
Did we already approve that?
Yes, we did.
And she already traveled?
Action items, budget amendment, line item transfers, and or salary schedules.
Judge, Commissioners, you have the budget amendments in front of you. They are beginning with for 2014 for the new year. The first one is for the records management, and the county clerk's office is using reserve to cover the purchase of the vehicle that the court approved at the prior meeting, also for data processing and contractual services as well. There are funds in the reserve for that. The next one is for the infirmary, which is to cover an item that the court approved at the prior meeting as well. That is being funded by the Sheriff's Commissary Fund. Then you have one for the Discovery Grant, East Rio Hondo Water Well Project, and the FAST Grant for the DA's office. Those are all new revenues that are coming in, and some of those are for through grant funding. Then you have line item transfers for 2014 as well. You have County Court at Law 2, you have purchasing, juvenile probation, and tax assessor. On the tax assessor collector, that is the increase in revenue due to the commission on the agenda item that the tax assessor had at the prior meeting for the tax collections for the Los Indios entity. And then you have DOT forfeiture usage for the DA's office, and you have the elections office. You have a lot of budget amendments as well that are like this, on this type of a format. These are all revenue fundings. Those are all for the health department. There are different grants, and I think there's some more in there for the juvenile department as well. And for the DA's office on the victims assistance, and a number of juvenile programs as well. You have also attached the reflected salary schedules that go back to the same award funding, the grant funding as well. You have the health department and the WIC department, the juvenile probation, and there is also a salary schedule for that is separate. It's not attached to the other ones. It's just like this. It should be the last one that you have attached. That is for the DA's office, for general fund, and for the drug forfeiture fund. My understanding is it is budget neutral. I know there is a representative here from the DA's office if you all have any questions that you would like to address relative to that for your approval.
Are there any salary changes
In
all of,
there are salary changes to slots, is my understanding. There are
no, but in all of them or in just one particular one?
I know that in the one for the DA's office, for the general fund and for the drug forfeiture fund, there are changes in there where it is budget neutral. On the health department, those are all, and the juvenile department, those are all in compliance with the county policy, and they are grant funded.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. My question was, is there a salary change as a result of this new budget that we're looking at, budget amendment, or is it the same as the last year's salary? The amounts?
The amounts are the same. The only changes would be what the court has approved, which is the $1,000. For your approval, yes.
So, you confused me there. So none of these salary,
And she clarified me.
you said there's no changes other than the
Yes.
$1,000 that we approved?
In the grant funding, yes, okay, other than the $1,000. There are changes in the DA's office, in general fund, and drug forfeiture fund.
That are more than the 1,000.
That are more than the 1,000, yes. It's only
Okay.
in this batch here, which is the revenue funding, the grant funding.
Okay, so all those folks just got 1,000. These 4 positions here got a different increase or decrease?
The salary schedules on general fund and the drug forfeiture fund, oh, you're talking about, what is the department number on that? It's the last one?
The DA one, I guess.
There's two different.
That is new funding, that is on the Department of Treasury, where the DA's office is using the Department of Treasury forfeiture funds.
So I'm assuming those are increases.
These are positions that are being funded by Department of Treasury. These are, I believe these are all new positions.
New positions, okay.
Yes.
They are new positions?
They are in essence using Department of Treasury funds that are in their fund balance.
Now, would these positions only be for the amount of time that they have funds, or are they going to become permanent positions in the future?
If they become permanent positions to general fund, then the court would have to approve that, and the DA's office can explain that.
Okay.
Commissioner, I'm happy to address that. This is DOT, Department of Treasury funds that we receive through forfeitures. There's a lot of restrictions concerning how we can use them. One of the restrictions is that if we're going to use them for salaries, it can only be for a period of 1 year. If it's to backfill a position into a task force, it can be done for the life of the task force. We would anticipate these positions being temporary positions, being 1 year, and that at some point those employees could possibly be absorbed in as we have turnover in the office. But it will be for a limited period of time.
Okay.
And the Department of Treasury has come and audited our funds and has instructed us that we have to expend these funds within a certain amount of time, we can't just sit on them. So
right.
we have to do something with them.
Well, and my concern was only that 4 new positions we create, and then next year, if you run out, or 2 years down the road you run out, are we required to keep these positions? But you answered the question. Thank you.
We only do that for the sheriff, sir.
Well, the sheriff does protect the citizens of the county.
That's right.
Okay, any questions? I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion second to approve. Item 3A, B, and C. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approval of minutes,
Can we
August
approve,
15th, 21st, 27th, September 5th, and 9th. I'm sorry.
can we approve the claims?
It's
That's the
the
next
A and
item.
B, I think.
Can we approve the claims
I'm
at the
sorry,
next?
yes. I'm still a rookie at this, huh? I need a motion to approve the claims.
I need to read them in.
Go ahead.
Claims are warrants number 308884 through 308981, number 308984 through 309117, number 30119 through 309485, number 309491 through 309623. Caremark healthcare claims are $434,589.40. Payroll dated October 11th for $1,632,670.98. Additional payroll for $60.84, also dated October 11th. I have a claim that is to be voided, warrant number 309015 for $132.90. That was due to an incorrect vendor address. And I also have a manual claim that I would like to read in on a check. They were funds that were received in the Cameron County Fund 390. The funds belong to the CCRMA. It's approximately 1.2 million. So we would process that check tomorrow, and I request that you approve it for release so we can send the funds to RMA.
So moved.
Second.
I see everybody wants to get paid. That's a good thing. I didn't skip that.
Payday.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item C, the minutes. August 15th, August 21st, August 27th, September 5th, and September 9th.
Move to table.
Have a motion to table.
Second.
Have a motion second to table. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
I haven't gotten the minutes from my... No, I checked this morning before I got off my vehicle. So I don't know if it's being blocked or what, but I haven't gotten them. Okay? I know, but I like to read them before I mean, I can, if you all want to approve them, I'll abstain.
It's up to the Commissioner's Court. Commissioner Sanchez?
Well, I haven't read them, so I wouldn't be able to vote on them today.
Okay.
We had a motion second to table. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item E, consideration authorization to reclassify slot 4 from webmaster to computer support technician with a salary of $24,000 and utilize the remaining funds for the slot towards extra help.
Morning, Commissioners. The reason for this request is that we did apply for the webmaster position for quite some time. We really didn't find the person we were looking for to get what we need done, pick up where we're at, and move forward. Understanding where we're at with Odyssey right now.
Was it because we weren't paying enough in that position?
That was part of it, but the expertise that we needed wasn't on site. So based on the fact of where we're at with Odyssey, we figured instead of having that position continue just to linger, let's reclassify that, bring that board as a technician to help us alleviate the load and get these computers taken care of.
Move to approve.
Have a motion by Commissioner Garza. Commissioner Sanchez?
I'll second, but I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
By doing that, the extra help, is that going to be for a webmaster person or?
No, it's all just for the computer part of it. The web part, myself and one of the other programmers are taking a part of, so two of us are splitting it. That way, if one's not here, the other one can take up the load. That computer position's to help everybody else out with all the computers we have in the county. We're being overwhelmed right now.
Okay. Well, because if we're going to give you more duties, we should probably pay you more too.
I understand, sir, but it is what it is.
All right, maybe Arnold can find some money.
Yes, sir.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Aye.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye,
Aye.
motion passes. Item F, consideration and approval to reclassify 4 slots from the Constable Departments 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 by Commissioners Court and to be adopted by the Civil Service Commission.
We could table that item.
Motion to table. I need a motion to
Why are we tabling it?
I know the judge asked that he wanted
Yes.
to be here for that discussion.
Okay.
And I think Juan wanted to be here as well to make sure we
Juan
had a discussion.
Gonzalez had some,
Okay, but this is what we were gonna do for everyone else, right?
Right.
And where's the judge today?
he's out. He had a commitment of some sort.
And then Juan's in court, I believe.
And then
All
Juan was,
right.
Juan is in Austin or something?
Well, but it was to do the same thing that we did for the other constable, right?
Right.
Well, I mean,
I think the only issue is that some of the constable's offices have 3 people total. You know, some have 6, some have 9, so, I mean, how far down do you run the ranks?
well,
That would be my only question. I'm
I
not
know there was
questioning, I'm not
some legal
questioning.
issue with civil service also associated with it, you know.
all right.
I need a motion to table it. I have a motion by Commissioner Garza. I'll second the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Nay.
Item G, item discussion and possible action regarding an Odyssey update from Commissioners Court, for Commissioners Court. Oh, you got one. Sure. Are you ready?
It's waking up, sir. We'll go ahead and move forward without, to let this thing catch up. Good morning, Commissioners. As requested from my chain of command, we're going to give the court an update on where Odyssey sits and how, where we're at in our current plan for the future. Okay. Once again, good morning. This is just an update on where we're at with Odyssey and our current plan for the future. There's been a lot of changes going on with Odyssey and a lot of questions and concerns, so I'm here to address your questions, concerns, where we're at, and our plan to move forward and alleviate all these questions, concerns, and give you an idea where we're coming from. Odyssey 2011, we're all live. JP, County Clerk, District Clerk, the whole gambit as requested by the court. We are working through some JP post-live go live issues. We do have a person on site right now working with JP 5.1 to ensure that all their questions are being met, all the concerns are being addressed. We're finding that on a plain level right now that there's many configuration issues that we're working through, but that's part of our plan and our current path. The Sheriff's Office is still on live with Odyssey. We are working with any issues that come through the Sheriff's Office. There is some plans for the 2013 upgrade that the Sheriff's extremely interested in. Our goal is to make sure he gets those. That's part of the 2013 item I'm going to discuss here towards the further end of this presentation. Performance issues and timelines. I do understand that the court's been receiving a lot of emails regarding performance issues with the current Odyssey program. We are making some changes to our network to accommodate the new 2013 items and the hardware. And we've had some slowness that we've addressed with the database servers and the Odyssey system. We've engaged Tyler Technologies, we've engaged Dell Support, and part of our team here at the county to try to figure out what that slowness is. We haven't pinpointed just yet, but we have not given up. That's a priority for me. That's an extreme concern for me. I do apologize for the slowness, but it's something we're trying to figure out what it is. We can't fix it if we don't know what's broken, and we don't know what's broken just yet. But it is a very big concern for us right now. From June 16th, there was some issues reported to Tyler regarding some cases. Also, up to 30-second case loads and intermittent script issues, and that's part of the slowness we discussed. From June 20th, we removed some stalled jobs, rebooted some app servers, and did some more performance tuning. On June 26th, we reported more issues about slowness, and we started digging deeper into research and find out what the cause would be. On the 27th, we made several configuration changes and other recommendations from our Dell support staff trying to figure out if we can alleviate this and speed up the process a lot more. In August 30th, we did some more performance enhancements to the database side, the Odyssey side, and a little bit more recommendations from our hardware team from Dell. And on September 3rd, we even did some more memory configurations to see if that sped up the process. Some key performance issues and solutions that we've seen is that we've seen some data that the Odyssey database server is struggling to meet up with a load. One of the things that we've come to realize is that when we initially spec'd out the hardware for Tyler, I underestimated how much the county was going to use it. The softwares are underpowered. It's point blank, they're underpowered. Because of that, the new equipment is 4 times the process of that other one that's currently in place. That's the equipment that you all funded me a couple of months back. The equipment's on site. We're getting them ready. I did turn over all the new equipment to Odyssey, but I'll cover that on the 2013 update as well.
Joe, let me interrupt here.
Yes, ma'am.
When we moved with Tyler, did they not give us, or you, the specifications that were going to be needed as far as server space and whatnot?
Yes, ma'am. But due to the effects of like the county clerk, district clerk, and DA and how much they took with it and ran with it, they've kind of superseded the specs a little bit. But we're making up with that with the new equipment that's coming.
But they came on board. I mean, we really didn't have that much trouble. It's now that we're having the problems, right?
Yes, ma'am. It's after we've grown quite a bit. We've actually grown quite a bit in the way we have first implemented the program.
Okay.
The item, that whole slide's a little bit wordy, so let me just make it a little easier for everybody to understand. The database server thrashing, that means it's a lot of utilization on database server. That's where I just informed the commissioner that that was something that was underspecified, but I resolved that issue. And as well as the load balancing devices, it's something that we've also underspecified, and I'm resolving that issue right now. Like I said, we really didn't understand how much the county was going to take and run with Odyssey, and now that I do, I have a better picture on how we can spec out equipment to be a little bit more advanced to carry the load of what we need to do.
So what we funded you for is going to take care of all of this problem?
Yes. JP 51 and 52 on-site visit, I just addressed that a little bit ago. We do have a gentleman from Tyler on-site with JP 51 to see exactly what's going on. Sorry, 51 and 52, to see what's going on. I haven't had the full report yet because they're still working on items and getting an understanding of issues and concerns so that we can address a solution to help out JP 51 and 52. We do know that the judge needs to have a good working program. We do understand that she needs to be able to do her job to the best of her abilities, and that's why Arnold was able to influence Tyler to bring somebody down so that we can sit down with them and find out what's going on, identify, address, and resolve as best as we can.
Are those the only 2 offices in the JPs that are having issues?
The JPs as a whole are still trying to learn the program. They're still in the infancy. We've only been live for about a month. There's a lot of things that we're still working on, but the more configuration issues we're seeing are from 5.1 and 5.2.
Joe, the Odyssey program, is it different in terms of what was given to the county and district clerks versus what was given to the JP courts? And what I mean by that is, did the county and district clerks had to create what they wanted within their shell, or was there already something put together?
There was something put together, but a lot of the things that the county and district clerks have done is they've adapted a lot of their forms and tokens to help them better get things done. They've taken a tremendous amount of ownership over their product, and they've been able to push it forward. I mean, they're in the audience right now. You can ask them specifics if you desire, but you know, with everything, you have to take ownership, roll your sleeves up, and make it work. A lot of it, they changed their business process to make it work.
Okay, and the reason I ask is I've been at the courthouse on several occasions where Odyssey's down, or we can't check this, or we can't go in. Judge Sally Gonzalez has a lot of issues as well, and they're kind of the same issues that I see at the courthouse.
Well, Odyssey as a whole is one solid program. It's one series of servers. Due to the changes we're making to get ready for 2013, we had some network issues, and that's where we're seeing this slowness come into play. We're seeing the Odyssey down situations come into play, and we're working on those, trying to get those resolved right now.
Okay, so is it a problem on our side, or is it a problem on the software side? I mean, is it our network that's not up to standard, or is it something with the actual software?
The slowness right now is on our side. It's not a networking standard issue, it's a communication issue. Since we're making changes to adapt to the new hardware, we believe that between that and the way the system is under-specified, that there's some communication issues that we're trying to resolve.
Okay, so when it's down, it's the network's fault, not the software's fault?
Yes.
Okay. One other issue that came up with Judge Sally is she said that she had called the helpline with Tyler.
Okay.
Was on the phone waiting for an hour, and finally to told, oh, the person that, and I'm just relaying the information, the person that that can help you with that isn't here.
Commissioner, I don't know anything about that one, but I will take that as an action item. I'll find out and I'll resolve that.
Okay.
That shouldn't happen.
And I get, every time there's a stall or something over there, I get an email.
Yes, sir. I've seen that.
We all do.
I've seen those emails, and a couple of them have been a little preemptive. We did have some network issues, and to blast an email saying Odyssey's down was not part of Odyssey. It was the entire network. We lost internet and email at the same time, but no one ever mentioned that in the email correspondence. And, you know, I'm going to address those in the future as they come by.
Okay, and maybe one last thing. I understand from her court that the other JP courts have a lot of issues too. Are you having meetings with all of them combined to go over troubleshooting or issues they may have, or is that not something that's going on?
We are in the process through Arnold and discussions with myself to creating a committee an Odyssey committee of a member from every agency or item or department that uses Odyssey to discuss items like that, to figure out a plan how we can move forward and implement changes countywide.
Okay.
But also, Commissioner, the JPs meet on a weekly basis. They have a weekly conference call with Tyler to discuss any of these issues and concerns and see how we can resolve them at that time.
And are y'all in on those?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
The Odyssey 2011 hardware status, we are still in the process of rolling out the 250 computers. That's stemming from the 2013 release, not the 2011 release. The servers I've already addressed a little bit. And the hardware issues are stemming from the servers that I inspect the first time around. Like I said, we really didn't understand the scope of how Odyssey was going to get taken by the county. Now that I do, I have a better understanding of how to move forward. The Odyssey 2013 upgrade, that's important to everybody, mainly because we have a lot of things that the Sheriff's Department extremely wants, mandates from the Supreme Court. Because of that, we came to the court, we asked for additional monies for hardware to make that happen. As you see there, the 250 computers, the servers, better battery and storage backups, and camera and biometric systems for the Sheriff's Department. I'm still in the process of procuring the cameras and biometric systems, as well as the battery. Right now is not the time to bring the network down to make those changes, so I'm being very careful on how I get that done and when I'm going to get that done. The cameras and the biometrics I hope to have on site soon. I've already resolved where I'm gonna get those from that are gonna meet this and exceed the specifications that the sheriff's requiring for both fingerprint and image capture. I do have the vendors already in standby. I'm just waiting for some paperwork so I can get that stuff done.
You're waiting for some what?
Paperwork, ma'am. The sole source letters and items like that. Commissioner, did you have a question?
Is this a Tyler product that you're getting for the biometric and the scanning capabilities? Is this coming from Tyler?
No, sir. It's coming from another vendor that Tyler has been using, a nationwide vendor instead of just something themselves.
And why wasn't it done before? I guess I'm confused because it seems like if we weren't ready with Odyssey, why did we roll it out when we did? Obviously, there's lots of problems still.
Well, the 2011 version, what we bought, we were ready for. It's the advancements and enhancements of 2013 that everybody's desiring that's pushing a lot of the items on this list.
And I understand that, but to me, you know, it would have almost been anticipated that upgrades would have been needed by somebody. Would have thought, hey, you know, it's 2011, 2013, the technology's changing monthly. Practically, you would need bigger systems, deeper systems, more operating, more memory, that type of stuff. We should have probably been ready and rolling before we did all of this. We wouldn't be having this conversation now.
Correct, sir, and we did try pushing a lot of that forward. There was just some positions in the county's timeline where there wasn't the money available.
I think my biggest concern is, you know, the sheriff's department not having the scanning capabilities that where they get your license and run your license and do checks and get on a computer system immediately like everybody else does. But we're kind of running the whole operation backwards. Or I know they're doing it manually right now because they don't have all the hardware they need. And my question would be, why didn't they have the hardware they needed?
At the time, 2011 didn't support a lot of those features and enhancements that were desired. And
I mean, I think that we've been asked for changes to our server system in the county
for a while.
For probably at least, I've been here 13 years and I know I've had that request for at least 11. And we hadn't funded anything of any nature until
recently.
What, 3 months ago?
Yes, sir.
No, there's no doubt it's partially our fault.
We were totally underpowered.
Yeah, but even the computers, even our computers are backwards, you know, and we should be upgrading our computers at least every other year.
We fully understand, Commissioner, and it's a great concern of ours. The issue that we have, and the computer center understands, is that the court's limited in funding. We understand the court's position on how to get that funding and, you know, what it's going to take, whether tax rolls or whatever the case may be. We work with whatever you give us, and we do our best to get everything done. Just at that point, earlier this year, we identified we can't do anymore, and that's when we came to the court and asked for more money.
I guess, and I realize it's partially this commission's fault or past commission's fault, there's no doubt, but there seems that we have to find a way to bridge this issue in the meantime.
Yes, sir.
On a short term, even if it's, you know, a couple of months, 6 months, whatever it takes, because we can't have one department it's like 5.1 being way behind the rest of the JPs. It's the same thing with the sheriff's office. We can't have that. It's not working.
I understand
They're not communicating. It's a big issue.
I understand completely, and that's why I'm pushing forward and trying to get the cameras and biometrics for the sheriff's department so we can get them where they need to be. However, they won't be able to be fully implemented until we go to 2013, and that's part of
And when do you expect that to happen?
Well, I'll jump to the next slide then. Part of 2013 release plan is we configured the hardware and we finally were able to resolve some bugs that we had gotten, and I turned over the hardware to Tyler yesterday, Tyler Technologies as a whole. Now that they have the hardware, they're going to start putting in the software and fine-tuning how everything's going to communicate together. Once we do that, we're going to have to push the old data to the new server, and we're going to have to test. There's no way we can move forward from 2011 to 2013, just flip a switch and make sure everything's going to work. We have to roll our sleeves up, we have to test, we have to verify everything's working right, we have to verify our forms are working right. If not, it's going to be a whole conversion process all over again. That testing could take approximately about a month, Commissioner. I can't give you an estimated timeline because I know that people are busy. They got things they have to do.
Well, you're not going to do the test. It has to be each department that does them. So some departments, as we've learned through the process of this implementation of hardware and software, you know, some departments don't make meetings. I mean, we had trainings, we had meetings. I walked in on a number of them because they were done in San Benito at the building there, and there were some people that never showed up till we went live. And it's impossible to be able to understand, to train, and to integrate the information if you wait till the last day. It just,
I
it
agree
doesn't work,
completely, Commissioner.
you know?
My only concern was, are we doing this in a timely manner? Are the programs coming out? When they said I said, we're gonna have this for you, say, May 1st. Did it come out? Was it ready? Was it available May 1st? Was everything available when they said it was gonna be available? Or has there been a breach?
Tyler stated that the product would be available September of 2013, and the product was available September of 2013. We fell a little bit behind getting the hardware ready. The hardware is ready right now, and we're
On our end.
on our end, and we're ready to go. We're ready to start moving forward. One of my main emphasis, and this is towards the next slide we're leading to, is that we have to be ready for the text file and the automation process that the state Supreme Court is mandating. So we have to push forward, and we're getting to that point right now.
And we know.
Yes, sir. Projected timeline for our hardware installation, I said it is complete. We did turn that over. We are starting to push for Odyssey 2013, the installation and initial configurations from the hardware perspective. Once that is complete, we're going to also use the steering committee that Mr. Flores has been helping me with to help ensure that proper testing, any trainings are involved, are met by all departments so we can get that going, implemented, and deployed. Our projected goal right now, tentative, is we want to be live with 2013 as soon as possible, but right now I'm envisioning somewhere around Thanksgiving where we're going to be able to get this thing done with proper testing. As you can see, there is a steering committee that we've been discussing a little bit on. The purpose of the steering committee is to just, discuss Odyssey issues, develop consensus, reporting to Tyler, improve our data entry, and establish lines of communication amongst all departments that are going to be using Odyssey. The key part about Odyssey 2013, and it's something that the county has to address as a whole, is that we all have to be able to accept the change of how this is going to work. If every department is going to keep thinking that, it doesn't work like that in the old program, we have to lose that train of thought so that we can move forward. Odyssey is a very powerful program, but we have to be able to accept that change to be able to make it work to the best of its abilities.
Why is the sheriff not included?
From the initial emails that went out, I know that the sheriff's department was invited. We haven't had confirmation yet
I
as to
say
who.
make a little box there and include them. I mean, they need to be at the table,
I agree 100%.
you know, I mean.
I agree 100%. But I do know that they were invited. I did see that email.
One of the issues I noticed, Commissioners, with I attended the last meeting for about 30 minutes, and there seemed to be a breakdown in communication from the complaints, because there were people there from 5.1. A lot of the department heads that had to deal with Odyssey were at this meeting downstairs. And they were saying that the information or the complaints that they had were going to whoever, not you or whoever in the department, they weren't getting to Odyssey. There was a breakdown, because Odyssey kept denying, so we didn't know about that. I heard them say it 3 times. We didn't know about this. We didn't, that type of thing. So somebody is, it's either our side or Odyssey's not telling this whole story as to who's at fault for the breakdown or the transition of information from A to B and back.
Okay, sure, Commissioner, I understand that completely. I don't know, I haven't heard that before, but I will take that myself as an action item, and I will ensure to do my best that communication breakdown does not continue to happen.
Any other questions? Sheriff, do you have something to say?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We shall bring you up to date, on some of the issues that we still have back there. It seems to me from the very beginning, Commissioners, that the way they were set up is that you put the carriage before the horse. Everything starts with the sheriff's office from the moment that an individual is placed under arrest to the time that it is completed at the court. However, and I understand they started out here with the county court, they started out with the district courts and the county courts. Well, that's fine and dandy, because I believe that Odyssey is geared to that. However, the sheriff's office is the biggest one. We got 500 employees, we got 1,600 inmates, and we are still being able to do better by doing it by hand than by the computer. And I realize it upset some of the courts, But the fact remains that we use Odyssey, it takes us a long time. Now, for example, PRE. PRE means it's a Protection, Rape, Elimination Act that was issued to people here at Odyssey and to Joe that is supposed to come into effect. We gave them that information 5 years ago, and now they're telling us in 2015 is when it'll be ready. You know, Joe's a good guy, and I'm not an IT, but he needed to come to the court and tell him exactly what Odyssey was not doing so that you'd be aware so that we could go ahead and address that issue. We tried to address it by keeping the computer system that we had in place. However, the legal department objected to it, so it sets it back. All we wanted to do is to incorporate it into it until Odyssey would be able to function as it should in law enforcement, and it hasn't. I don't know what Joe's going to do, but it has been brought to his attention time and time again. And Commissioner, I'd also like to address that my people did take some training, and we brought it before Judge Carlos Casco. We had a meeting on a couple of occasions. I brought my people that work in the jail. We had Crees from Odyssey stay with us for about 3 weeks trying to train our people, which they already knew how to do it, but we stayed with them. And they did provide a lot of training. Now, I don't know about other agencies or other departments, but we did. But the point remains that Odyssey is not functioning as it should in the law enforcement side. You need to be aware. You want to keep it, that's fine, and then we'll work with you all, but you have to be patient with us as to how we process all this information. And I'm going to let one of my people right here, go a little further into details. Mike?
Sheriff, I just want to make one thing. I appreciate, what you've done. And when I saw this steering committee, I did not want you to not be present at a steering committee that is looking at issues on a weekly basis for the system, And I don't know how long these meetings are. Arnold, maybe you can tell us.
This steering committee, when we met with Tyler a few weeks ago, there was an issue there, and I think the breakdown of communication was there was processes being done in the JP offices or at the sheriff office level or the auditor's office or that things were being entered into the system and they were affecting other offices like the auditor's office, like the tax office. So this steering committee was put together so that we can all communicate and know what the other person is doing or the other department is doing and how that affects the departments down the line. So we just initiated this steering committee.
Okay, so it's a new committee?
Yes, it's a new committee that we have going out.
You don't anticipate this meetings going like half days or anything like that,
No,
right?
no.
I mean, it's just a 1 hour
Right.
type of thing.
And that way, it's just, instead of having 10 people with Tyler and Odyssey, we all meet together, everybody brings their issues there, and our IT department communicates those issues to Tyler.
Arnold, are you putting a
Kinda makes
timeline on
sense.
response time? No, you communicate them, but do you say, hey, we need to get something back from you within 24 hours or 2 days or whatever?
Yes.
So we know that there's
Yes.
actually follow-up?
And I think to answer the sheriff's question, I think an email went out to request participation. I haven't gotten with my assistant yet. The ones that we have there are the departments that have already confirmed to participate. But we're just pending to hear back from Mike or someone from the sheriff's office.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Is that one more issue? Is that the committee you're talking about going to Dallas, Arnold?
That's a
Well,
Cameron County committee that we have here.
Well, I know we've been keeping contact with you at all the times, and we keep in contact with Pete and up to the point with David. So you know what aware of the issues we have. As a matter of fact, we addressed this with some of the commissioners at one point or another because it's been going on for 3 years. As a matter of fact, Commissioner Benavides brought in 3 people from Tyler Technology about 1.5 years ago, and they promised us that they would be ready by June, and I'm sure she can substantiate that particular statement. And yet, it's been 1.5 years, and we're still not at the point that we should be. But every time they want to do something or change something, Tyler Technology, you need to be aware that they want to charge extra money to do it. When at the very initial beginning, they went to the office and they stated they would provide every single thing that we needed, including all the computers and everything that we needed on the deputies' vehicles. That has never happened. We're still operating at about 40%. And that's a lot of money that the county, the commissioner approved, to pay for this particular item. We should be working at full capacity at this present time. And Mike can address a couple of issues so you can understand it a little bit better.
Commissioners, around 3 years ago, Tyler promised us they would give us a product as good as or better than the one we have. And then every year, well, we're going to get there, the next rollout, 2011, 2013. We're about 40% of what we had prior to, and we're paying for it. We're paying a lot more. We're paying probably 5 times more for this product than we were with our last product. Just about every jail our size in the state, well, actually in the United States, when an inmate gets released, they get a little debit card, a Visa card. The reason they get that Visa card is because years ago, and this is the same way Cameron County does it, when an inmate gets released, he gets a check, whatever was left in his account. That check comes from Compass Bank, which the county banks with. Well, unless you got an account with Compass Bank, that check's pretty worthless to an inmate that gets released on a Saturday or a Sunday. They're stuck. They can't cash it. They can't go home. The Odyssey product, and I try to keep everyone abreast on the court. If there are issues, I make sure I email everybody right now. The Odyssey product doesn't, they advertise it. I sent you a brochure that they've advertised for years. They say they can do it, but we don't do it in Cameron County. We don't have that capability yet. They say they have fingerprints and biometrics. They don't have it. If you read the Odyssey manual, the jail product is only, the guy that designed the jail product's only been there 2 years. So obviously, since we started this thing years ago, somewhere down the line, they switched companies or hired somebody new. But we're only working at 40%. There's a PREA Act that was enacted September 1st that says that we have to do certain things with juveniles as far as classification. Every other jail management software package that I've seen already has that implemented. The Tyler folks haven't even started it yet. So we have to do 3 pages manually of every inmate that comes in the jail.
When you say juveniles, what age are you talking about?
If a judge adjudicates a 14-year-old as an adult, we have to keep that person in our jail. And that creates...
That's 16 or under, right?
17 or under. Well, the PREA now is 18 or under.
Oh, okay, so...
And Texas is unique from the rest of the country because the 17 is that age where we can incarcerate them as an adult. So that creates a whole set of issues now since September 1st. If we get, and I think we have 4 juveniles that are adjudicated as adults right now. Can't keep them with the rest of the population. I have to find a special place for those folks. Special paperwork needs to be done. That's not in the Odyssey. It should be. It should have been. They should have been doing that 5 years ago when they found out about PREA. They should have put a dashboard in so that when we're booking them, those questions come up on the screen. It doesn't have that. I can go on and on and on. There's just many things.
I appreciate all of those things that you're bringing up, Mike, because I think that those are critically important to your operation. But I think that's where if you participate, like in this, at least the committee, it becomes an issue, and not only you understand, but everyone that uses the system understands what some of the shortcomings are. I don't think that when I went into this program as a commissioner, as a policymaker, I didn't expect to have everything day one. And I don't know if Sophie has any insight on that, but it was going to be a system that was going to be implemented over a series of minimally 5 years into the process, because Tyler didn't promise that they're going to have new computers for everyone.
I understand that.
At the user level, okay? That's our issue. Commissioner's Court is the one that had to commit dollars to hardware to make sure that when the 2013 system comes on board, we have product in the workplace that supports that system. And, that commitment was not made by this court till 3 months ago. So, you got to blame us for some of this problems.
Well, I'm not even blaming Tyler. I mean, they're good business folks. They sold us a product, that's for sure.
Yeah, they sold us a product, but it was going to be put in place over a course of time with some system upgrades of our hardware system that could support what we had. And, you guys helped us in making sure that we upgraded some of your own hardware through some of your dollars. So it's been like a growing process for all of us, you know.
I think part of the problem, what I heard right now is, we were just told that they're ready to go. All these systems, we're not ready, but the systems are ready to go. Now Mike's saying the systems aren't even available.
Yeah, that'll be 2015 before they
So
get
do
that
they-
PRIA thing in there, because it's not in the 13, and the 14 edition, I don't know what they're gonna put in that. There's systems out there right now. I mean, I wish that the court would have allowed us to keep what we had and until the Odyssey, I mean, combine them, and then once everything's done, so we can completely book somebody according to state standards, and then shut the switch off, you know? I have nothing against the product. I think it's gonna be a good product one day. I really do. The jail thing's new to them. They didn't start in the jail business. They start in county clerks, district clerk courts. They said, well, let's do a jail management project. And that was, you know, they're not there yet. There's people out there that have been doing this for 30, 40 years, and they've got a good product. And, you know, we're going backwards on it. We're not going forwards. And Commissioner, if the court says, you know what, you got to bear with us for the next 3 or 4 years, because that's how long it's going to take for you to get it, then, you know, then that's what we have to do.
Well, and again, if there's any other changes that come about legislatively or legally, either through Supreme Court decisions or statutory decisions, those changes have to be implemented into the process, you know, like we normally have
Right.
to do.
And honored.
Yeah.
And honored, as soon as they become.
Oh, and they'll charge us for it too.
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, I'm looking to be, you know.
Every product is going to cost us. And, you know, with reference to what the sheriff stated a few minutes ago, that I had taken somebody from Tyler. One day I get a call that, you know, the sheriff's office was threatening to shut off Tyler and bring in the old system and whatnot. So Pete and I and David, Robert Lopez was here at that time, we went over there. And I asked, I mean, did we have this problem? I mean, how come we hadn't heard about it? And the staff didn't know anything about it until it happened. Okay, so yes, I immediately moved to bring somebody in, and they worked with you all. And so unless we know that there's a problem, you know, how are we supposed to solve it, like immediately, or we're going to shut down? So I think there's been a lot of lack of communication, Mr. Leinert, but I think you have our support. We're trying to make the best that we can with the product that we got. And you heard, you know, we weren't prepared. That wasn't Tyler's fault. So I think the best thing that we can do is move forward and continue. And I would like to see you all name somebody from your department.
I believe we assigned Janie Trevino and Sergeant Moore. They've been attending the meetings. So, you know, we've got some input in there. It's just, you know, we don't, Commissioner, you know, we're committed to making it work. But, you know, if we can do it faster by not booking people with the Tyler system and doing it by hand, you know, that's where we're at, you know, and we'll do it manually for the next 3 years till they can get the thing going.
Well, but what's going to happen to the rest of the system if they're relying on you to be the first step?
Exactly. So is it a manpower? I can't come up here and ask you for 7, 8 more people, you know, I mean, we're getting the job done, but it's pretty demanding, and we shouldn't have to do that.
The modules that he's talking about, that Tyler says is ready, he says are not ready, we need to know the real answer, whether they're available or not. If they're not, then what is the short-term solution? Can you come back to us? Or give us a short-term solution, at least to transition, because the courts can't be without the information.
Well, what Tyler's doing right now is they're reaching out to third parties because they don't have it. Like Joe said, Mr. Reyes said, what they're doing is they're going to a third party for the biometrics to try to piecemeal this together. We need kiosks where people can leave money for the inmates that are in jail or pay their bonds and fines. You know, we're still doing that manually. We don't take cash. We need the kiosks. We don't care if it's a third-party system. Any kiosk will do. Just get them in there and get it to the treasurer or clerk's office so we can pay bonds. And see,
Doesn't your company do that, Judge?
Yeah, and I've seen their product, and they got a great product. And they could hook us up tomorrow.
Y'all do Kingsville? Okay,
Yeah, we
yeah,
don't
'cause
need-
I've seen those kiosks
Yeah.
in jails where
Yeah.
you go and you put the money in.
See, right now, grandma or the wife or somebody has to go to the Circle K or to the post office and pay $2.50 for a money order.
And then
buy a
mail it
stamp.
in.
It goes to McAllen, it comes from McAllen to the Brownsville, then it goes to the courthouse, then it goes to us, then it goes to the
Someone
inmate.
has to,
No, but that's part of the right, the,
But, you know, we have not had that system in place 5 years ago,
no, that's gonna help us.
2 years ago. That's like where it's moving into.
Right. I do have kiosks at the jail right now, and we've had them for quite a while.
Let me
But,
ask,
but it's not integrated with the
let me, can I ask a question to Pete? Would we be in breach if we negotiated a simple deal with somebody else that would integrate for short term till Odyssey's up and running like it's supposed to? Would we be in breach of contract? I mean, I don't know when the contracts or what the contracts say. Because it's not, we're not solving anything but with the discussion we're having. We're still gonna have a
Again,
problem.
Tyler went to third party because Tyler chose the third party. I mean, if you bring that up to him, they'll put kiosks in here.
I'm not, the kiosk is not my concern, it's your medical, the swiping you talked about with the credit, with the license, those type of things that kind of tie into the court system, everything ties together.
Well, so,
Yeah.
Commissioner, the kiosk system is part of the Tyler product.
Okay,
They just haven't delivered it. It's in there.
Oh, it's in there?
Yeah.
so the software
The county-
has
yeah,
a connection for
It's
it.
ready to go. I just don't think that the county wants to pay for that product.
Oh, that's extra? Everything.
So's the medical. And we need a medical system, but that's extra.
Aren't we required by law to have that within a certain time frame? The medical part?
Pretty soon.
We'll save that for executive session.
Yeah, we'll talk
Well,
about that.
okay, never mind.
So, anyway, again, it's gonna take a lot of money to finish out the Tyler jail product. We're 40% there, the other 60% is gonna cost money.
Give us some numbers. We need to have them.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Second.
Have a motion second to acknowledge report. Any discussion? No? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Judge, can we take up item J, because Judge Betancourt's here and she needs to get back to the courthouse?
Item J, discussion and possible action regarding probate court. Mr. Gonzalez? David Garcia?
Judge Pro Tem, Commissioners, we, as you know, the county court judges came before you a year and a half ago on the probate court. This past budget, 3 slots were approved for the court. We have been trying to locate some space at the courthouse for these individuals. Space at the courthouse is tight, and right now there's only a couple of spaces that we have identified that are still, probably being used or could be used by another office, but we think that we can probably use one of those offices. One of those would be the office that the district clerk is using on the first floor, and then the other office is a storage unit office that the JPs are using, and I know the JPs have some concerns with that location as well. So this is one of those items where space again is, at a premium, and we're trying to find a location for these individuals, and Judge Betancourt is here to address any questions that you all might have.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for taking me up out of turn. I know that everyone's so busy this morning, but I do have a full courtroom to get back to. In speaking to David, he did tell me about a few spaces at the courthouse, and I think I should begin by telling you what it looks like right now. We have 2 employees that are in a closet. We have our court reporter is using up a small closet. That is her office. Our Judge McDonald's clerk is using a small closet as her office. Our juries that come in and they come in and they're in a 6x9 I didn't measure it, but I would think it's a 6 by 9. Judge Sanchez, you've been there. If you walk in, you can't walk out unless everybody else walks out before you. That's what we're doing with our juries, and I hear their concerns every time I have a jury. It's claustrophobic. That's a space that we work with, and we've never come before you to ask for more space, but now we have 3 more persons to come in and help us with the probate court, and thank you for assisting us with that and for giving us these 3 new positions that are very much needed. But we don't have space there. Another thing that's happening to us is now that the district clerks are, the district attorney, the district judges are downstairs, we have prisoners that come through our hallway all the time, so we're real tight. I don't know, I come to you and ask for the space. When I first spoke to David, he said there was space downstairs because at the time they were vacating it. They were vacating the space for Judge Benton.
Judge Belton.
Belton.
Yes.
Right, and Judge Rosas. That was in the morning, it was empty, then we went in the afternoon and it was full. So what's the solution? I come to you for assistance on that.
On the same floor that you're on, Judge?
Yes.
David, you say there's already, there's a space there? There's an office there?
Well, it's being used as storage, but it's also a mechanical room that would have to be looked at by somebody to see if it can be remodeled or used as a space for personnel, for staff.
Would it take major fixing?
Probably not. Hondo has looked at it as well, and it probably can be worked on. But again, it's a room that has all the storage in it, and then storage files in it.
Pete, don't we have room in San Benito to put all that boxes away?
The JP store all their old files there.
Well, they don't have to be there, though.
And that is a concern for us too, because of our, they have community service. They have those persons that come in to do community service, so they're back there with us too. And going into the boxes, getting their boxes back and forth, so.
Aren't those?
That's a situation.
Weren't those
we're in.
supposed to be scanned at one point?
We've never budgeted for scanning, but they probably should be, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue here is that, we're running up against each other as far as space is concerned at the courthouse in general. We do need to take a hard look at what modifications and then assigning space for first the probate court and then maybe doing a modification to that room if we can get, some concurrence from the JPs. Right now, the only space that we see is that first floor space, but again, the district clerk is there and the district clerk has some concerns. But
Isn't that the office she has upstairs? She would have an office both places?
she has an office.
And why does she need 2 offices for herself?
I don't know.
I guess we should ask her. Yeah.
Who's in charge? Who ultimately makes the decision who gets what space? Okay.
I will.
Now we
I
know.
think you guys make that decision.
You want us to delegate that authority to you, David?
One of the issues that come up on the agenda later on is an issue, a bond issue we're talking about, and it's the expansion of the building you're talking about, how badly it's needed. I'm glad you're here. I wish you'd stick around to tell the whole story about how bad it is. There you have the 2 law clerk library people on the 3rd floor in a closet also. I don't know if you've seen that little room they're in. It's horrible. There's no AC in there, and when one sits down and the other one sits down, the first one has to get out so the second one can get out of the office. It's a little closet. Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that in other places.
In the meantime, Judge, are these 3 people already on board?
No, we can't bring them on board until we have space for them, which leads me to the next thing. We don't have a budget for them either, but I don't know if that's appropriate to discuss it at this time or come back later. All right, we'll
We
come
can
back,
bring that back.
we'll come back
Did
later
we
on that.
budget money for their space?
We have a budget just
them.
for their salary, and that's all.
But not
That's all
for
that's been budgeted.
the space and all these
Office and-
changes that we need to make in there?
Right. So we can't bring them on board until we have space for them.
I get it.
We are very tight in there.
I think we'll work on it and get back to you, hopefully, give us at least until the next meeting. to come up with
Judge?
some kind of solution.
Do you
And
need
I'll
to
have
have them there in your courthouse, or could they maybe be in this building or somewhere else?
Well, I mean, they could be somewhere else. I guess they could be.
Because they would go there for court, like, whenever you have probate court?
They would be there for court. They would be there to, the idea is, with probate, a lot of it is administrative, to meet with the attorneys before they actually come into the courtroom. So they need space to meet with them.
There.
Which I thought. They could
For
be
office
somewhere else
space.
for office space, and then perhaps work on that room that's being used for storage that has all those boxes in it. Perhaps, and that could be where they could start meeting with attorneys and, see,
Right.
we have, another thing that we have.
3 different
concern that
days
we
of
have,
probate court?
that we could also use it as a jury room, because you have 3 judges that only have 2 jury rooms, 2 tiny little jury rooms. And so when all 3 of us have a jury, one of us has to cancel that jury trial. So we have 2 jury rooms.
That's true. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yes, that's happened numerous times.
I mean, it's not, it's county property.
Judge
Okay.
Olivera has a nice jury room.
Well, that's Judge Olvera's jury room.
I was,
And he has been, when they were designing that, I did ask them to put the jury room in such a way for that court so that we
You
could
could
use
use
it if
it.
we needed to, and they did.
Yeah, no, it's right outside your door, so.
Yes, yes. When they're not using it, they do allow us to use it.
Where
Yes.
those 2 cells are, Judge, that we don't use anymore,
Yes.
is there space enough there maybe for an office? If you knock
That's a
out,
possibility. There was that space where they would use as a holding cell, and they haven't
Right.
used it as a holding cell.
because jail
for-
standards don't allow it.
Right. That's concrete. Well, that would take an engineer to tell us whether they could use that
Or
or
just
not. But we
give a
could
couple
definitely
inmates
use
some
that to at
time.
least expand the jury room, yes.
Okay.
We'd ask you to take that into consideration also. All right.
So we'll continue working with the different parties involved and try to see if we can come up with some sort of resolution for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judge.
Need a motion to acknowledge.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second to acknowledge. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item H, discussion and possible action regarding security problems in county parking lots located on East Harrison Street. Who's going to address that?
Joe Rivera.
I'm sorry, who?
He's over there.
This is Joe?
Commissioners, we have major problems in our parking lot across the street from the courthouse. There's been cars stolen, hubcaps stolen. Our employees, especially our female employees, when they go out to eat or leave at night, they're harassed. And we need to do something about it, because one of these days something major is going to happen, and somebody's going to have to pay. So we can start by putting cameras in the parking lot connected to the security inside the judicial building. But something has to be done. We don't have any patrols out there.
They don't do the patrol in that little green John Deere?
For many years that it has not been.
The patrol little wagon, the green one, is right here at the Dancy building. It's not over there.
They stole the car from one of our employees right from where the sign says county clerk.
Literally in the daylight, they took it.
Wow.
They've scratched my car, they've done vandalism to my car where I park in as county clerk. They have taken hubcaps from our cars. There has been altercations coming out from the judicial building into the parking lot where we've had to wait because they're fighting, and then the people from the judicial building come out, the law enforcement, and help out. But something's gonna happen. There's people that get very angry when they come out of court or whatever the reasons are, and they speed out, and so we really do need security out there. There are several solutions that Mr. Rivera has mentioned about the cameras, possibility putting back the person to drive around in the little gator. That helps. Even just being out there will help. But we need something. It's getting out of control and out of hand.
In about a month from now, it'll be dark by 5:30, 6 o'clock also, so. Do we have lighting in that parking lot at all? Is there any lights out there?
We have lights out there.
Is there
We have
lighting?
lights.
There are lights?
We have lights. But we might start by putting cameras out there so that people can see what's going on in the parking lot. And then later on, add some security people. Maybe add one or two more people to the security of the judicial building and have them patrol that area because it's getting bad out there.
I understand the constables have, and I know that most of the reserves are full-time employees somewhere else, but that might be a possibility to look at, since the constables have up to 15 reserve deputies on file. Maybe that would help in bringing maybe some in that are not employed to do something like that for the county. I'm not sure, but it's just if it's a concern about not having personnel, maybe that's something that we all can look into.
I did talk to the constable the other day, and most of those reserve deputies come out at night and help out the constables because most of those have full-time jobs.
Sure.
But we need somebody that can be there from 11 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the afternoon when our people come in and out of the courthouse.
David, could you check on that and see how we can work out the issue of the cameras and see about maybe adding personnel? I don't know if it's very impossible probably, but let's look at the possibility of how we can work that out, and we'll deal with. Do you have a comment, sir? Do you have a? No, I guess we're going to ask Abel for some help with that issue and try to get him some more help. I know you've been covering all the cars being outside that belong to the judges. I know you've had people outside pretty much all day to cover the judges' vehicles because they're exposed right now. Is that closed up again? Are they back in there?
Yes, Commissioner, the judges are already parking in there.
Okay,
We do have
but during
an
the time they weren't, you had you had somebody out there pretty much the better part of the day to watch their vehicles?
Like in the morning, noon, and afternoon.
Yeah.
And we still have the officer in the morning, and the constable has periodically sends officers to do the walk around.
In the front parking lot?
In the parking lot, yeah, we do that often now. But the concern we have is in the morning, we're just so busy in the courthouse. But after lunch is when we can really have somebody out there and patrol. It's just the morning hours that, when we have jury, Mondays and Tuesdays, we're just so busy, we don't have anybody to
Years
send out
ago, we
full-time.
used to have a constable leave a card on your window saying that he's actually out there checking, and it kind of gives a sense of security to the people that are there, that somebody's keeping an eye on their car while they're doing business in the courthouse. So we need to kind of maybe go back and implement something like that, and we'll work on it, Mr. Rivera.
We have 8 reserve officers on file.
But they do it the mall, where they put a policeman up, tower that moves up and work, and it's tinted and you can't see if there's somebody or not in there.
Right.
So you always have an
I believe those things have cameras on.
Maybe we can look at buying one of those portable lights.
Now, we've actually had 3 incidents. We've had 2 broken windows and somebody actually hit the van. So we had 3 times where we actually have to go to the insurance and kind of get that fixed.
Recently?
Yes, in the past month or 2, we had a broken window, and within the last year, we've had 3 incidents in the parking lot, while it was either after hours or on the weekend. And like he said, on Mondays we have jury duty. We've had some other incidents where we have people coming in. Sometimes they're a little bit, I don't want to say aggressive, upset, and we have to call security. Unfortunately, 'cause it's Monday, we have jury duty. about 400 people there, it kind of wears them thin. So I do think they probably do need some more deputies in the courthouse and some more cameras in the parking lot so they can make sure that they take care of everything.
How many panels get set each time, on Mondays, is it separate?
We
One
have
panel?
requested at least 8, sometimes 12.
Is that normal to call that many people in on
Yes,
any given Monday?
yes, we fill up the central jury room.
No, I've been there. I've been
Yeah,
called.
and it's every Monday.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Just for here.
What was that, Pete? I'm sorry, I thought you said something. Okay, Joe, we'll work on it. I mean, we'll try to put a plan together. You get with David, and David, as soon as you can get on it, if you have, come up with some kind of solution.
And we'll work with them, but
Please.
whatever needs to be done.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Second.
A motion to acknowledge,
So moved.
and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item I, discussion and approval of contract between Cameron County and Dr. Elizabeth Miller, MD. I'm sorry.
Table? Move.
Not ready with the table? I'm sorry.
Second.
Second, third.
Have a motion second to table this item. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item K, consideration authorization to hold a public hearing regarding the revision of order adopting rules of Cameron County, Texas, on-site sewage facility preamble. Yvette, who's going to handle that from health?
Second. Was it noticed?
Have a motion second to open public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We're now in a public hearing.
Anyone? Anyone? Move to close public hearing if there's no one that wants to speak.
Have a motion second to close public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I guess we'll go to the next item. Item L. Item L, consideration possible authorization to amend the order adopting the rules of Cameron County, Texas for on-site sewer facilities. Have a motion
Second.
to approve, and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item M, consideration authorization to reclassify job title Park Ranger from Slot 2 from budget number 830-6680 to Assistant Chief Park Ranger by Commissioners Court to be adopted by the Civil Service Commission and increase the slot salary by $5,000. Who's going to handle this? Mr. Vega?
Yes, Commissioner. Javier Mendez, he's not here today. He's up in Austin, and he's up with Juan in Austin. But we're requesting to classify one of the park rangers' positions and to an assistant park ranger's position.
Now, Juan did say he didn't have a problem with this. I guess we need the discussion from the commission, see what anybody thinks about this, or whether.
Yes. Yeah, he said he did not have a problem. As a matter of fact, there's an email that was sent by Javier that Juan said in order to have consistency in the day-to-day operations of the park rangers, he said that it'll be good to have an assistant park ranger.
I
we
think
have the
we've
money?
had one all along, pretty much.
Do you have the money for that increase?
Yes, well, that's the other thing. We're looking for the money for the increase. Yes, sir.
I'd move to approve subject to money being
Second.
available.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion passes. Item N, consideration authorization to reclassify secretary position from slot number 100-5600, slot 76, to a sheriff's deputy position, utilizing Fund 900 funds to pay the difference in salary. Chief?
Commissioners, yes, we have distributed different responsibilities to our secretaries so that we can have that position available and try it out on a temporary basis, see how it works, and we would fund the difference out of our Fund 900 budget to create an additional officer on the field.
You want to put them at the parking lot across from the courthouse?
No, sir.
Contingent upon,
Move to approve.
I have a motion to
Second.
approve and a second. Any,
This would only be to approve the position
when there is Fund 900 money, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Right. The difference in pay would come from the Fund 900.
Yes, sir.
So to our budget, it's a neutral.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion second to approve this item. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item O, consideration and authorization to award bids, RFP, RFQs for the following subject to contract negotiations and approval by Commissioners Court. Item A, Energy Consulting Services, RFQ number 1360.
Judge Pro Tem and Commissioners, we have a recommendation by the Evaluation Committee for this RFQ 1360 for Energy Consulting Services. We received proposals.
We can't hear you very well.
We received proposals from 13 firms for the Energy Consulting Services, and I put this on as a discussion. I'd like to introduce Gonzalo Sandoval with one of the firms, Energy Smart, and he'd like to take a few minutes to address Commissioners.
Welcome.
Good morning, and appreciate the opportunity to address the court. My name is Gonzalo Sandoval, and I'm representing Energy Smart Corporation, and I'm speaking on behalf of Bob Driggers, the President and CEO of Energy Smart Corp. Basically, what I'm here to discuss today briefly is that we think that the evaluation process for RFQ 1360, had some flaws in it. We feel like, for example, that several of the respondents probably should have been disqualified because the RFQ requires that the respondents to be independent. If you look at section 3, page A of the RFQ, page 7, it says before a consultant is considered for selection as the energy consultant, the qualifier must show independence. And item 1A of that same page says the qualifier or his or her firm does not engage in the sale of energy. Also, the county affidavit form, which is RFQ page 1360, page 10, says that the proposer is not a member of any trust, pool, or combination to control the price of products or services, RFQ on, or to influence any person to RFQ or not to RFQ thereon. So the bottom line with what we're trying to say here is that when a consultant, gets part of their billing from the energy provider, there seems to be certainly a potential for a conflict of interest. And so anyway, we feel like the process was flawed. We also feel like that we weren't given an opportunity to interview with the selection committee. As far as we know, no interviews were conducted for any of the folks that any of the companies basically had submitted the RFQ. And we feel that ESC has proven qualifications. If you look at that second major bullet point, middle of the page, the company has proven to save money in several different formats: meter consolidation, preparation of RFPs and RFQs, advising boards and administrations, and in general, doing things that really save substantial dollars for the end user. So without, basically the two-pager that I gave you has all that information in detail. Also, this firm, ESC, provides an interactive posting system which is mandated by Texas law, not the posting system, but posting the information is mandated by Texas law, and we provide a system where you can do that. The individuals for the firm have excellent qualifications, and so the bottom line is that since no interview was provided, we didn't feel like the company was allowed to really present the qualifications. And we have, for example, right now, the amount of, or the cents per kilowatt hour that Cameron County is paying for energy is around 6.5 cents. And during the time this contract was consummated a couple of years back, another large user in Cameron County that ESC represented got something around the order of 4.2 cents. At the present time, the going forward contract is above 6 cents, whereas the present market probably supports a pricing of about 4.8 to 5 cents. So both of these, when you look at it in terms of how much the county uses in total kilowatt hours, it can run into substantial dollars, and couple $100,000 per year. So in summation, what ESC is recommending is that you look closely at what you're being asked to approve, and that we go on the record that you reject RFQ 1360 and reoffer a new RFQ that does not contradict itself and that allows independent consultants to actually be independent from power suppliers, and also to staff the evaluating basically the evaluating board to make sure that it's got technical experts on the board so that they can make informed decisions. And if you do all this, we feel confident that you can gain more savings in your energy, basically in your energy billings. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Forbes. Yes, sir. I have a question of you. Doesn't our RFQ process have in place a process that allows for anyone that is wishing to turn in an RFQ to address these issues that were brought to our attention today?
That's a good question, Commissioner. That's correct. In all of our RFQs, RFPs, and bids, on the very first page, we invite and encourage all bidders or proposers to request addendums or changes if they feel that the need is...
Before today, have you received any requests or changes?
Commissioner, throughout the entire process, there were, from all 13 firms, no one requested any changes or addendums or brought any of these issues or concerns to the purchasing department. So therefore, there were no addendums issued. In addition, we had a purchasing seminar at South Padre Island about 3 months ago, and 3 of the consulting firms that participated in this process, we met them at the seminar. I think 2 of them were actually speakers at the purchasing seminar at South Padre. They did relate to us that they did have the RFP, they were working on it, and one of the questions I asked 3 of the firms was, do you see any issues or concerns? And I was told no, the RFP seemed to be in order and they did not have issues or concerns. I also got calls from 4 of the other vendors just to ask questions such as, where can they go to the website to download the RFP? And if they had questions, could they call? And none of those firms at a later point expressed any concerns with the RFP the way it was laid out. So in a nutshell, of all the firms, I didn't really get any issues or concerns or addendums.
Till today?
Until...
Having said that, though, there's still, even after this bid, if the bid is awarded by this court today, there's still a protest procedure in place.
Of course, Commissioner.
Okay, that's the concern. That's, even though it wasn't done prior, it can still be addressed.
There's in the RFPs, there is a protest procedure, and that's in all bids, RFPs, RFQs, that exists.
Okay.
What happens, Commissioner, FYI, once if the court decides to move into the negotiating phase, then if we do receive a protest, then we actually freeze the negotiating phase until we resolve the protest matter, and then we move on.
What are the wishes of the commission? Did you have, I'm sorry, do you have a what is your recommendation?
The recommendation would be based on the evaluation committee. You have 6 members on the evaluation committee as approved by Commissioner's Court, and you'll see them on the summary sheet. It would be Javier Mendez, David Garcia, Charles Hoskins, Javier Villarreal, Hondo Garcia, and Arno Flores. The recommendation by the committee would be the firm with the highest score of the 13 firms, which would be Marco Arredondo. being an RFQ, as we begin to negotiate, that's the point that we would actually address the pricing issue. In RFQs, the pricing is not a factor until we then get into negotiating phase.
Do the results, are they the same if you get rid of the high and the low scores?
Well, Commissioner, this form is actually 10 of the 13. So if we took out the high and the low, you'd still have quite a few forms up front.
No, I'm talking
But we
about
could
the
do that.
high and low score in each
In
group.
each category?
We could go back and do that, but no, we did not take out the high and the low because customarily we just present to the court the scores the way we have them. I think it's been discussed prior, and I think if we go that route, then we need to be doing that for all bids, all proposals from here on.
Or didn't we do that when we had the tax, the delinquent tax contract?
I think it was discussed, but I think the final decision was to be consistent and leave all the scoring, intact.
Okay, one other question I have is the Conference on Urban Counties. As a county, we're a member of that, and they have the public power pool. That came in number 2.
Correct.
Now, how did y'all do this scoring if y'all never interviewed or spoke to, and I'm just going by what he said, I don't know if that's true or not.
We, as a committee, when they met, that question came up, which you all like to go into the interview phase, and the consensus of the committee was to present the scores to the court, and they all elected not to go through the interview phase.
So how did you base your scoring, just on what was?
The committee based their scoring on the proposals and the information received in the proposals from each firm.
The packets.
Exactly.
The packets. And what does this contract end up paying to the provider of service?
Our current contract is paying right at $16,000 a year to the consultant.
So we're gonna pay $60,000 to a consultant that no one interviewed?
We don't pay.
$16,000 a year. If the court would, that'd be a decision between the court and the committee, but as I said previously, the committee elected not to interview. If that's the desires of the court, then I imagine that'd have to be passed on to them.
Well, I mean, I would think it'd be important at least to interview the folks that are submitting applications. I mean, if you're just gonna grade on paper without asking questions and talking to them, I think you get a different result.
I have a concern. It was stated that we right now are paying 6.5% cents per kilowatt hour. Is that
6.3.
Okay. When in effect the going rate right now is 4.2.
Correct.
So is there a problem there?
In the market, as time changes, rates change. So at the time we bid, what is, it'd be like going out to buy stocks at today's price versus last year's price. They fluctuate.
But as a county, wouldn't we be able to lock in? I mean, when we actually negotiate, can we
That
not
was
lock
correct,
in? Or
That was the rate.
At that time, that was the
That's
the
what it
best
was?
rate.
And
It's kind of like when we buy Reliant, TXU, or whoever, you can lock in for 12 months, 24 months, or whatever, but they give you different rates.
And
And if they
Commissioner-
go down, you're locked in.
And that's what we're looking at right now, is for trying to lock in. We're going through this process to find, get a consultant to lock in better rates for what, 2 years
That's
down the
right,
line?
Commissioner, right now the market's real good, and although we're good through December of 15, since the market's good, the pricing's good now. If we could take advantage of that by going out for bid fairly soon, we could get lower rates for 16, 17.
And we need a consultant to do that? Your department can't do that?
I haven't seen too many in-house bids to do, because Commissioner, they do more than just that. They actually look for ways to save and lower our kilowatt usage. They do some things such as, I know Commissioner Benavides asked for an assessment of the wind generation stations, the solar panels in some of our buildings in Harlingen, San Benito. They do quite a few things. They make sure that our meters are connected and disconnected correctly. These are all part of the package of their services, not just to prepare a bid.
I move to approve the recommendation of the committee.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll, for discussion purposes, I'll second it.
Have a motion to second, discussion?
Do you often do these awards without interviewing the firms?
We pull the committee and we get direction as to the wishes of the committee. If the committee would like to interview, we go the interview route. If the committee feels that it's not, the purpose of the interviews is to have any unanswered questions answered, or if they feel that there's still some information lacking in them doing a fair assessment in their scoring methodology, that would be the objective of the interviews. So if and oftentimes the committee has expressed the desire to go through the interview phase, and we've done so.
My concern is only that, was it because 13 came in and we said, oh, we don't want to have to do 13 different interviews, so we'll just go based on the paperwork submitted?
Well, a lot of the committee members felt that they had the information they needed to do fair and adequate scoring.
I don't believe this is the first time that you've done this, right? Where you don't interview?
No, sir.
We use it for if it's an objective type document or RFP, everything is graded. It's kind of like grading a test paper type of thing.
So why do we need a committee then?
Somebody's got to grade the test paper.
Or Mike could do it?
Yeah.
No, I think the intent there is to try and to separate a potential conflict. Since I'm involved in preparing an RFP, I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to evaluate the RFP I prepared and come to the score with the record. So inherently, you won't find that happen very often, where the preparer is actually scoring his own work.
You didn't serve on the committee, right?
No.
I just sit and
Yeah, but you don't serve as a
you don't
voting
score.
member. As an evaluator.
No, sir.
Okay. That's why.
Right.
Okay. How many of these, more or less, are done without actually interviewing the applicants? Is it more often than not? Because until now, my assumption has always been that you interview everybody on all of these.
No. Sometimes they'll interview they'll do what's called like a short list. They'll interview the top 3 or 4 firms, and they'll bring them in, the firms with the highest score. But it's rare when they'll interview all of them when you're looking at 10, 13 firms.
Well, that's kind of, that's why I figured they didn't interview. But I'd be interested to know why you wouldn't at least interview the top 3, especially if the scoring's close.
Yeah, well, that was just a decision the committee made. That's pretty much all I can say about that.
All right.
We have a motion, a second on the table to approve the vendor. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Dan, I'm sorry. Did you vote aye?
No, I voted aye.
I did hear it, I'm sorry. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item P, discussion and possible action regarding status of bond projects and potential future bond projects. Thank you, sir.
Put anything on paper.
Huh? Are you ready to spend some money, Pete?
Judge, Commissioners, I'll give you a quick update on the status of the bond projects. Just passed out a spreadsheet. Primera Road, that's an AFA, Advanced Funding Agreement we had with TxDOT for $2 million. The way that works, at the end of the project, TxDOT will reconcile all their quantities, change orders, if there were any, and then they'll make a determination whether we owe money or they owe us money. 9 out of 10 times, they come back and say we still owe them money, so we'll see on this one. I haven't heard a lot of complaints, problems on this one. They're about 90% complete, so it should be done, hopefully before the end of the year. US 77 Parallel Corridor, again, we have an advanced funding agreement with TxDOT. Broke this project into 2 different phases. However, the environmental phase is being done for the ultimate configuration for the entire project. TxDOT has funding available for the first phase. So as soon as we get released on the environmental assessment, we'll start acquiring right away, designing the project, and then moving forward with the construction. I'd venture to say we should get clearance, environmental clearance in the next 6 to 9 months from TxDOT. San Jose Ranch Road, we're in the bidding phase. All the right-of-way has been acquired, recorded. We bid the project out once. We didn't get any bidders. We're in the process of rebidding. The first public notice went out last Sunday in the newspaper, so we're hoping to be able to get some bidders on that project. Old Dallas Road, we completed the design phase, but then we submitted the construction plans to the city of Brownsville because on that one, pretty much it's 50-50. 50% is inside city, 50 in the county, and that's to connect State Highway 100 in Los Fresnos to State Highway 550. Old Dallas, right where the Sheriff Department Carrizales is at. So we're still waiting. The city wanted to include sidewalks, and that was going to add a large amount of cost to the project. So we kind of have that project on hold. Vermilion.
Well, they wanted sidewalks
up to the city part, right? Only to the city.
Well, they wanted.
No, they wanted it all the way.
The entire 1.8 miles, and I mean it was going to add, like $1.5 million, and it. The majority, probably more than half of that portion from 550 to 100 is rural. It's not, there aren't any residential.
I know it.
And so it just didn't make sense to me to put sidewalks there when you can always do that through the subdivision process.
The people that have that, some of the landowners are going to eventually develop that.
Correct. Well, that's what I said. Yeah, through the
so
subdivision process, you can get that.
Yeah.
Because they want to.
Vermilion Road, Brownsville PUB has been out there, I guess, for the last 6-9 months, relocating utilities. I think AEP has also relocated some of their utilities. So latest we hear from Brownsville PUB is that they should be out by the end of November. Once they're out, then we can go in and start those improvements. There was a corner clip that we needed to acquire, and it's been acquired and recorded. Odyssey, y'all heard the update on that earlier. Judicial courthouse improvements, this project was complete. I think Murray Thompson was a contractor, completed this project about 2 weeks ago, and I believe everybody is moved in and settled in. Property acquisition, that's the funding that we had for the Pacheco building, that's on hold. Some of that money has been used for the La Seca building, trying to push that forward. Roof replacements at DC 1 and 2, those are complete. AC units at Carrizales, those are complete. Jail shower replacements, those are complete. The sheriff's chiller system, because some of the other projects ran over budget, that project was not done, but because the funds left over were a lot less than what we required, so those funds are being utilized for the courtroom construction. About a month ago, the court approved the contract with Aguirre Roten. Correct. The court approved a contract with Aguirre Roten. They've done the preliminary design. The sheriff sat down with Hondo and his staff and made comments to to that preliminary design. They'll then go and make those changes. The court has also approved for Hondo to negotiate with a vendor from the TexMass purchasing network system and move forward with construction. We're anticipating the cost of that courtroom. I believe at the last Commissioners Court meeting, we had a preliminary layout that was brought to the court. We're projecting that cost in the range of $500,000.
Pete, but are there other offices that are going to be put in, or just a courtroom?
No, there were other offices, and the layout was brought to the court. I don't have a copy of it.
Yeah, but I don't remember, because do you have the
I'll get-
DA involved?
Yeah, there was offices for the DA.
Okay.
Who was here? Renee was here.
Yeah, Hondo,
Today.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we think we probably can negotiate with a vendor in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and then bring a final rendition, final layout to the court probably in the next 2 weeks, so that we can get final authority to proceed to negotiate. Not sure what construction time would be, but I'd venture to say at least 6 to 8 months. And we probably need to run that by the Commission on Jail Standards as well. But they do a pretty quick review of that. Old County Jail, Lucio Clinic, we did some parking lot and drainage improvements there. Did that in-house, so that portion of the project is complete. Veterans Bridge is complete on the US side. We still have the center span over the Rio Grande River connecting to the bend on our end that the Mexican contractor will do. So, depending on the bid that comes in, that'll be our responsibility for that portion of the project. But our portion of the bridge has been in use since last February because we did the middle connection. The Gateway Bridge, the court just approved the contract a couple of meetings ago. That is for the sidewalk canopies northbound and southbound. So that funding that's there, it doesn't take that into account, so it'll probably be zeroed out. Los Fresnos Annex, that's complete. We had that ceremony a couple of weeks ago. I think there might be some minor, I'm working with the tax office. There's a sign that needs to be relocated from the old annex building that's on the TxDOT right away. So we're getting permission from TxDOT to relocate that sign and place it by the new annex. Olmedo Community Center, that project's on hold. Streetlight infrastructure improvements, the court has approved, I believe, 1 or 2 projects. And so the balance that's left is a little bit over $370,000. Improvements to Pete Benavides Park. We initially did some improvements to the concession stand area. And then this project will also include additions to the social service center and then the water parks at Laureles, La Paloma, and the Pete Benavides Park. So we're left with a negative balance there of about $60,000. That's on the ongoing projects. Commissioner Hernandez had requested if I could develop a list of potential projects that might still be out there, and some that we've talked in the past and haven't funded. One is the courthouse improvements to the Dancy Courthouse, to include the roof, the windows, and the terracotta. Probably about 4 or 6 months ago, we had the consultant the county had hired to do the analysis, and the firm's cost estimate to undertake those improvements were in the range of $1.7 million. I've added, if you add architectural and construction management fees, we're probably looking at about $2 million. When we were doing the improvements at the judicial courthouse that the district judges had requested, we look at potentially adding to the courthouse towards 10th Street. And I believe the contractor there was Murray Thompson, and we got just an estimate to see what it would take to add towards 10th Street.
It was about 1.5.
It was about $1.5 million.
Yeah, for about $2 million with furniture.
But
and-
we would add quite a bit of space.
How many square feet?
7,000.
Usable.
7,000 square feet.
He was about 8,000, so it was a pretty good size.
And from our,
All 3 floors, Commissioner. A little bit on first floor, second floor,
right,
and third floor.
basically making the building a square.
Exactly.
Under the roof, under the foundation. That's already there. And I forget, Renee from Spall Glass is the one that came and gave us, wasn't it Renee from Spall Glass or his people that kind of gave us a rough idea? I don't, who was it that came out? Do you
Yeah, I
remember?
think
Let's see.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. I was talking something else.
Well, I mean, especially after hearing Judge Betancourt, and there is a need. I mean, we don't have a law library over there. We don't have what they call a lawyer's lounge, where you can go and, research, meet a client, do whatever. Hidalgo County has a great one. The CPS cases, when they have the hearings, you have kids all over the first floor, all over the place. And, with elevators opening and closing there and, so many kids, it's a potential hazard. So it's probably a good idea to look at that expansion and figure a room where we could occupy children, but maybe also use it as a training facility, a meeting room, whatever.
Yeah, and that was only us looking at it. I mean, we didn't take a hard look or anything, but I think it'd be worth, getting an architect on board. There might be other areas around the building that we can do the same, and maximize, what we already have there, because we need to plan ahead at least for another 5-10 years, and 8,000 square feet might not be enough. But we at least need to look at other portions. In the past, I know that just internally we had thought about the part of it facing Harrison Street, perhaps, going towards that
forward
as well. So it might not be a bad idea to get somebody on board and maybe look at what we have and what we can do with what we have there today.
The other thing I think that we need to consider is, with that type of expansion, putting in new elevators, because the ones that we have there.
Good point, and
you can't change the type of elevator that's used, but if we were to expand, we can attach them to the outer portion of the building with the newer model elevator that don't have the problems because I don't know what the number is, but I'm sure that in repair costs and maintenance, we're probably paying crazy amounts that we could avoid by changing the type of elevators and the number of elevators.
Yeah, we've had that discussion in the past.
If you had given us a ballpark figure for a new elevator, what was that?
Probably in the range of $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah,
But if we can incorporate it, you're right. If we can incorporate it into an expansion and make it fit the overall operation, yeah, we need to. I've had several discussions with the sheriff. He says he needs space. So we not sure. 12,000 square feet. We're probably talking about $1 million. That'd be at
We're talking about the administration.
The
building.
the sheriff's department. Yeah.
He told me he had 30,000. The original plan called for 50, but it was cut back because of budget issues. And I've been there, and it's like an ant farm in there. It's very crowded. So it's just like everybody else is here. Everybody, all the offices are real crowded. One of the things, going with what Commissioner Sanchez said about the courthouse, that I brought up was eventually consolidating the jail operations, all of it, to Carrizales, which would free up the space where the old county jail is now, which would make more office space available. just using the bottom floor where the sally port is, where they bring the prisoners in, have some holding cells there, and make the rest into actual courthouse use, which give you a bunch of square footage. The issue there would be to consolidate, to move those prisoners to Carrizales, to clear out DC1 and DC2, and add all the bed space to the other one. I asked the sheriff, or I asked Mike to come up with numbers, because right now you have 4 sets of guards, you have 4 infirmaries, you have, 4 kitchens, 4 of everything, and we're duplicating services. If we could consolidate back to one facility, the savings alone would cover a good part of the cost on a payment.
Well, wouldn't we need to provide those there for the federal inmates though anyway?
Well, that's step 2. Once you clear out DC1 and DC2, I don't know what Hondo told me or somebody told me that DC1, you can actually go up. You can actually add a floor. You can house 450, 480 inmates in DC1 and DC2 right now. That could be a complete federal facility and bringing money in from the feds and not have that fight on the population issue we always have, that we have to get rid of federal prisoners because we have too many regular inmates on a daily basis or a monthly basis, and make DC1 and DC2 strictly for federal, make the Old County Courthouse strictly for office, and make Carrizales the jail by adding 300, 400 beds out there. It's kind of a puzzle, but I think it's worth looking at.
Sure.
To see if the numbers would work. They may not, they may work, it may, hopefully projected new incomes that we have for the county as we grow, we won't have to go into a major tax increase. It may be a penny, it may be nothing, but we're not gonna know until we put the numbers together and talk about the issues. The other one was the animal shelter, what we've talked about now for 2 years. I put $500,000 aside, we need about $1 million. We came up with a number about 1.5 to build an animal shelter right at the existing location. And we found out that there is a sewer line that's close enough now to that location
To connect
that would
to.
save us a lot of, which would save us a lot of health issue problems. We have a smaller stuff, the chiller system at Carrizales. We don't have the money now, right? I think that's still an issue. We'll save a bunch of money if we had a chiller system versus
The individual units.
Health-wise, it'd be a lot better because you don't have the mixing of the air. Smaller stuff, the Lyseca building over here, we haven't done it. We were gonna put a parking lot in, remodel it.
We gotta move the grapevine first.
We have to move the grapevine first. There's a half lot over here, caddy corner, behind the building we just acquired that we don't have the money for yet. The 3 buildings that we have to remodel them. There might be a little bit of money left over on the other one. I brought up the idea of maybe buying, we have one property right here across the street to your left. If we had the other 3, we could make a parking lot and put about 60 to 70 cars for our people. Right now, the personnel that work in this building park all over the streets, and it's an issue. People talk about it all the time, especially when the weather's bad. And the ladies, and everybody have to walk a long way sometimes just to get to this building to get to work.
The men too.
The men too, but the men can walk longer, should be able to walk longer.
I know
We
some
have
ladies that walk a lot more than we do.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not one of them. I'm not the one that walks. We have an interlocal commitment with BISD to finish the Dana Road project, the Rivera High School issue. And I don't know if we've been able to find the money yet. We were looking at that the other day. So there's a lot of, the big parking lot on Harrison, the one we were talking about where all the robberies are. It's getting about time to resurface it. If you go look at it, I get there quite a bit, and it's about time to go in there and resurface that thing. Maybe we can do that in-house with our maintenance money. The DC1, DC2 parking lot, that's gravel, could probably use the paving. There's a lot of little stuff that I'd
Well,
like to see.
I
put
had asked
together.
Arnold to, okay, and all that's our property, right? From the edge of DC1 all the way over. Okay, yeah.
And there's one more big one. It's how far you want to go with the street projects that are pending. I don't have, in my precinct, I can do 300, 400,000 and I'll be done. But I know that your precincts have a lot of major roadway.
Yeah.
We talked to to Congressman Vela about an issue with USDA about doing one big deal to do the whole thing at very low interest rates. It's a possibility. Depends on what this commissioner's court wants to do and how far you want to go with actual, repairs.
A very low interest loan.
Yeah.
We have already set aside some money on a yearly basis for a bond issue for street projects. Javier? I mean, this is, we're going
It's
into
the
the third
leverage.
year, okay?
Pony up, Javier. Where's the money?
It's in, where is that?
It was like close to $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
That we were putting aside, and we were looking at bundling a bond issue that we could fund with whatever that amount was. And it's been accumulating, this will be the third year now that it's been accumulating.
That's where we're at, 1.2 million?
At 400,000 a year? Well, but we need to find out how much we can buy with $400,000 a year in a bond issue so that we can proceed with issuing a bond so that we can get this money. I mean, we've been waiting 3 years now.
Precincts 3 and 4.
Yeah, I understood it a little bit differently, but for road projects, that it was going to be kind of applied to a match, hopefully for some other funds, kind of like the Colonia access.
Match where?
But, no, I don't know. That's the discussion that was had years ago.
No,
not
I think the
necessarily-
word leverage was used.
Yeah, to leverage, not necessarily
Well, on
to
text
issue
dot
it.
projects, if there were some, on
Right.
making up differences, for example, on Old Dallas Road or San Jose Ranch Road, there's still balances there that we're not gonna be able to fully fund, that we need to move projects one from another, you know?
Yeah, with that, you could probably borrow about $4 million, $4 or $5 million.
With 400,000 a year in repayment?
Just Old Alice alone, that's gonna be the next Paredes Line Road.
Yeah.
Not today, but,
But
4 or 5
soon.
years is gonna be a major thoroughfare back and forth, especially with 803, you're getting ready to be, basically choked off from the 550 expansion.
And the idea, though, that you brought up from the Department of Agriculture, not
USDA.
Yeah, USDA. If that's a better deal for us than doing the bonds, I mean,
It would be for streets. You can do that one for streets.
that might give us a little more leverage.
Yeah, we can look at that. I'm not sure all the requirements that they might have, eligibility. I don't know if it has to be in low-income areas, but we can look at it. We can look at it.
Continuation of the Colonia
You know,
project.
Dealing with USDA has been a huge, difficult way to do business for us in the past. Unless they've streamlined something.
Yeah, I know we've turned money back.
Yeah.
Who was the person that we know in Dallas? I forget the man's name. Yeah, Paco Valentin.
Paco's
A-
guy.
a Brownsville guy.
Direction,
And,
the whole thing.
and with the congressman's help, I think it might be worth looking at.
Yeah, I don't know how the court wants to proceed, if y'all want us to get a little bit more detail on this project, but I do not, there are some urgent ones. I know during the last heavy rains, we got this hallway over here, there's water that penetrated the window. I think in the third floor, the auditor's office, that's an ongoing. We've got issues in the
We need to
basement.
buy mops for
as
every
we speak.
office.
The mold issue in the basement?
So, some point, before it gets any worse, we need to
But Pete, do we have, or I guess we don't have, but we probably need to work into the budget an annual amount just for this building because it's a historical building, not just once every
Well,
8 years, we're gonna have to drop $1.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, they have very minimal maintenance,
Allocated,
budget.
and that's
Yeah,
what I'm
but-
saying, if we fix that on the preventative,
Yes.
then we might not run into these
Correct.
big costs.
Correct, and I think building maintenance staff goes to work sessions with the Texas Historical Commission on an annual basis, that talk about, the preventive maintenance that needs to occur.
Yeah, but he comes back and we don't give him the money to do it.
It works both ways. yeah.
Well, but he needs to report to us, hey, this is what I learned, this is what I need, too. So we can, I mean, that's what I'm saying, let's put it in the budget, or when we talk budget next year, let's start allocating an amount, because I remember they talked about cleaning tiles and doing different things in here, that you needed a
Dirty.
special scaffolding and a special company that would do certain things. And if we know these are gonna be recurring costs, let's put them in, not say Marcelino do magic with a mop and a broom.
Could you do numbers
song and a
on
prayer.
this?
Yeah, what I would suggest, if the court wants to, we can have a workshop. We can go back and develop the list with a little bit more
detail.
concrete estimates that we can go by and then look at, different funding options. We'll look at the USDA option for roads and see what else is available, and then bring that back to the court.
And I did this because I had the time to do it, but I hope that everybody else will bring something to the table. I mean, I know you have issues in your precinct. The annex building in San Benito, if it needs repairs, a van, your
Well, I know
office,
that-
whatever needs to be done, let's look at all of it.
I know that we've talked about some drive-in windows for the tax assessor collector there that he's brought to our attention, that need looking at, there's.
Yeah, we talked about a drive-through there at the annex in San Benito.
I think that this county ought to consider buying a storage building for records. Because we've got records
This one-
everywhere.
This building back here used to be, the one we have over here, but it's turned into a maintenance warehouse now, maintenance.
Right,
barn, yeah.
but we need just warehouse, I mean, if we're gonna keep these records, we need to do something with them. They're, I mean, you go into, it doesn't matter if you go to JP office in Port Isabel, the JP office in San Benito.
Everywhere
or-
it's the same.
and everybody's bulging at the seams with records, and that would free up a lot of space, and a storage building would be a lot less expensive than adding courthouse space.
Yeah, the other project I didn't mention is, and y'all know this better than anybody, but we really need a much better vehicle maintenance facility. Some of our office buildings and the precinct warehouses are not the very best. So we need to look at that as well. I know we've been talking, Judge Hinojosa was still judge for at least the last 10 years about improving that. So, it might be time to take a hard look at those as well.
I know that we purchased extra land out at the Brownie Road area, and we could easily put up a building up there.
A warehouse.
A warehouse. Definitely.
Pete, if you and David and Arnold get back to us, and we're gonna put Hondo to work with a bunch of estimates, but we need to come up with some numbers, get some solid numbers, so we can take a serious look at this and come back and yes or no. We've talked about it for at least 3 years now, and it's time to actually do something. Hopefully, if we get part of this done right now, we'll be way ahead.
I was telling Commissioner Sanchez that I think it might be time to look at relocating the current precinct 4 warehouse office areas, because they're like inside the city right now.
Yeah.
And it really, it's a danger issue, it's a public safety issue, and and we have the space for that. When we bought the property on Wilson and Benton Road, we bought that property knowing that we were gonna grow that back in, there's about 16 acres available that are ours that we maintain now.
Clear it up and sell it.
Your
We
office.
can have them move it over. We've created, at precinct 2, they did a kind of a makeshift barn themselves over there by Carizales. The guys did it in-house, they did a lot, and they basically have all their stuff over there now, because there was an issue of the guys kind of going at each other, so this way it's all separate, and it doesn't bother anybody, and it works.
So,
Juntos pero no revueltos.
I mean, if we're looking at the future and where the needs are and what we need to do to solve those problems.
The barn, the big barn.
That would be an ideal record storage place.
That would be, if we give him his 450 extra beds, I'm sure he'll swap us.
It would
for
be
that.
protected too, because
Law enforcement is
Yeah,
there.
nobody's gonna mess with
it's in the
it.
compound. Yeah, it's in the compound, right?
Yes, it is. It's enclosed. Okay, if that's it, I need a motion to acknowledge item P.
So moved.
Second.
The motion, second, and third to acknowledge item P. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Presentations.
Move to adjourn, no.
No, he's been waiting a long time.
Presentation of county and district clerks kiosk collection payment system.
We've been looking at kiosks to complement the our collection department in the JP courts, county courts, and district courts for the last 9 months. And we've looked at 2 or 3 companies. Some of them have come down here and made presentations. I know that at every conference. I know that at every conference that we go to, they have demonstration of kiosks. And the last time I asked about it here in Cameron County, they told us that we had to wait till after the budget hearings. Now we're finished with budget hearings, and we want to go ahead and get some, especially in the outlying parts of the county where we don't have a collection department. For example, Port Isabel, Los Fresnos, La Feria, but also include Brownsville, Harlingen, and San Benito for starters. And if it works, we're even thinking about talking to, for example, HEB or Lopez Supermarkets, where they stay open till about 10 or 11 o'clock at night. But we got to get going, and that's why we're here today. I don't know what this Commissioner's Court wants to do. I know that some of the companies, it doesn't cost the county any money. Some companies charge as little as 3%. Others charge as much as 15%. So this is where we're at right now.
Do we need to develop an RFP, or do we need, how does purchasing deal with this issue?
Sole source?
Whatever.
Commissioner, we'd recommend an RFP process. The reason for that is we've had some interest from more than one firm in doing something like this. And I think with a platform such as an RFP, you can do a real good comparison as to what each firm has to offer.
As long as you guarantee interviews.
Pardon me?
Yeah, if you're not going to interview them, then we don't need to.
But Marta Galars and I sat down with one of the firms a few months ago, correct? And they also had an interest in doing this.
So there's...
Right.
Proceed.
Joe, I was talking to somebody just this morning. They had a ticket in La Feria, and they wanted to say, is there any place here I can pay it? I said, well, we had a kiosk. You can walk up to the kiosk and do it. As long as you're willing to pay whatever it is, you can pay it right then and there. So it would be a tremendous positive impact for Cameron County to have that. And if you could ever find locations that would be open on weekends and evenings, people would certainly take advantage of it, rather than having to come down to the courthouse, stand in line.
So what we would like for you folks to do today is to either go out for, recommend that we go out for RFPs or go get a company that does it.
Well, let me
ask. Up to you.
Let me ask you this. I mean, the RFP process, especially if you're not interviewing, is great to just look at documents. But, you know, Judge over here says that he's already in different counties. Maybe we should reach out to those counties and see how it's working. And if something's working and we don't need to find something that's not working, then go with what's working, you know?
I have a question for Joe Reyes. Let's say we go out for an RFP and it's awarded to the judge. Do we have the infrastructure in place where he could hook up to you and we're not going to have a 3-year wait?
In receiving the money?
And receiving them both.
In previous discussions, we have determined that they could use the same type of scenario that the text file could use. So in that respect, we do have that hardware on site.
You do? Okay.
And if we are going to RFP it, make that a consideration as well.
If I'm on the board, yes, sir.
Or make sure you're on there.
Well, just keep us make sure you keep us legal in procurement. That's the main thing, however we do it.
Yeah, no, of course, but I'm saying if we get a company that can't connect, like Commissioner Benavides said, we have the ability, it's not going to do us any good.
I think I would recommend it to the court that they look at the kiosk system from the perspective of maximizing county collections for all county offices and bring in the tax office and try to get a system that is going to support all of these departments to where it can be centralized.
County clerk and
Yeah,
district clerk.
correct.
Sure.
I thought that was,
JPs,
that was.
Any
JP, tax
collections.
office, all,
Tax offices.
yes,
Yeah, 'cause
Everybody.
in the long run, we could save money by not
Correct.
needing all these people collected.
yes.
But eventually, that's what we want to do.
And shorten the lines,
Tax office or-
serve our folks quicker.
Does this system, does it have an online ability also? Like your system, for example, sir, that you've got on, and not to put you on the spot, but just so that we can be informed.
Since you're here.
No problem. JD Salinas for President of Pace Kiosk. Since you put so much infrastructure and money into already, into the kiosk, the answer is yes. To web-base it is just a portal, so the answer is yes.
So it's yes. I mean,
Yes, sir. And what we're doing in counties is we're not charging them, we're charging the defendant a service convenience fee. And
The user.
the user. So it's no cost to the county, and we just work.
Kind of
with
like
it.
a toll road.
Right.
There's always an alternative, but if you want to use a toll and
gonna
get there
cost.
quicker, you just pay for it.
And it's considered a professional service, so that's why we've been able to implement it.
So the actual kiosk, we wouldn't pay for.
No, sir.
You would come in, put them in.
I already have them, sir. We own them. We operate them.
So that would be the way that we would put our RFP together, so that it wouldn't be a cost to us in infrastructure, and whoever wishes to participate and do that can, yeah.
And I would suggest in putting the RFP, if you're going to do that, go to these counties that are already,
Connection, what they do.
yeah, and find out, how they did it, how they're doing it, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Very good.
What we'd like to do is, for you guys to set up a committee, you should include the district clerk's office, the county clerk's office.
Well, all offices that anticipate being impacted. Tax assessor, collector.
Tax office, yeah.
And
Yeah.
JPs.
At least one of them.
Yeah, anybody that's going to have that should be the committee.
Okay.
You don't need our permission to put a committee to start looking at it. Joe, you get together and start talking, and we'll put something on the
In
agenda.
fact, why don't you put
Yeah.
a committee together, Joe? Thank you.
I need a motion to acknowledge.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, second to acknowledge. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item B, presentation by Ocean Trust on the Gulf of Mexico Nature Center.
I wanted to make sure that the court was abreast of the current ongoings of what is being proposed and looked at on a feasibility basis to complement the commitment that we have as a county at the, not only the Native Plant Center, but the Convention Center. So I asked Thor to come and present what he presented to a group in Rhode Island already. He agreed to, so I thank you for being here, Thor.
Commissioners, thanks very much. Thanks for the partnership, and we have planted a seed with the Native Plant Center that has taken root and grown, as sometimes happens. And so today I'm just giving you a briefing on a vision for a Gulf of Mexico Nature Center, much larger. This presentation is also on a website, gomnaturecenter.org, so it's available to anyone if they want to take a look at it. As you mentioned, we did start a project and do have a small grant from the Coastal Impact Assistance Program, $185,000, to start a native plant center. And as you'll see in the presentation, the vision has grown, and we are, as some of you know, actively looking for some additional funding. Part of this has to do with the fact that we live in a very unique ecosystem that attracts birds, is a turtle nesting facility, has a pretty strong sport fishing center and activities in this region. This is also the leading shrimp port in the United States, if you all weren't aware of that. Laguna Madre, huge hypersaline marine ecosystem. It's the third largest in the world. And we've got a lot of diversity in this area. all of these things kind of illustrate how closely our community is tied to natural resources. Everything that certainly on the eastern part of Cameron County is dependent on these. It's a service industry out there largely. Tourism, fishing, all of those things are linked to natural resources. So we started a discussion, or actually we were asked to start to look at some options, and this request came from the South Padre Island Economic Development Corporation to look at vacant property that they had in front of the birding center on their upper right-hand side. You'll see a kind of a Google image of what's there today. There's the birding center, there's Sea Turtle Inc., which is expanding. At the front of Padre Island Boulevard, there's a vacant piece of property, and of course the Cameron County property right next to it on the north side of that area. And EDC gave us some money so we could engage a design firm. We actually interviewed 3 and selected a firm out of Boston, and we went through a little bit of a visioning process, which is illustrated in the very first rendering that I'm just going to bring up. Let me go back one page. And what you see there is that as we start to work on these projects, that we have the capability to have a more of a complex that would house different elements within our community and within the ecosystem, from the turtles to the birders and people who are interested in birding, to plants and the importance of plants to our region, and then a fisheries center, which is meant to kind of draw the interest and illustrate, be an educational center on fisheries. So this is a vision. It's, and that's all it is at this point. We don't own all of the property, obviously. The property that the fishing center is currently placed at, and our design firm put it on this property, is actually Lone Star property. And so this would require cooperation between, a number of property owners. But I would say so far the vision has been well received. People are interested in it. People are starting to get excited about this sort of a possibility. And so I just wanted to bring it forward, for some discussion. In terms of the plant center, you'll see the renderings that I asked the design firm to put together show a fairly interesting and elaborate structure, certainly much more developed than when we originally started with our CF proposal. And it has all of these capabilities that we've been looking at, from plant propagation to supporting restoration activities, conducting research and education with local universities here, UT Pan Am, UTB, the ability to offer internships and house interns that you all allowed us to do, and also to have some living exhibits and a public garden. So it's much, it's kind of expanded from where we started. The footprint of it, as you see in this one, kind of illustrates the different parts of it. An internal plant exhibit area, and we've talked to the Texas Master Naturalists about how to design that internal exhibit. A little gift shop, a lab, a wet lab, where you work with some of these marine plants, intern housing, and then the plant exhibits themselves would cover those within the ecosystems that we deal with here, from the beach, the sargassum, the dune plants, coastal plants, mangroves, cordgrass, and the seagrasses in Laguna Madre. So it's a very kind of interesting and exciting design and prospect that our design firm came up with. These are the other renderings that kind of illustrate what it might look like, and obviously renderings are used in fundraising, and that's kind of where we are on this project, because we do want to bring forward a larger initiative than when we started a year ago. Plants are very unique, and certainly to our environment, they've got, well, that was a little video. It didn't seem to work, but anyway, they have a life of their own, and we're quite tied to it. Now, just as a briefing, I wanted to let you know that the EDC has that vacant property in front of the birding center. They asked me to look at some design options for a sort of a marine center, and I had many discussions with different people about what that might look like, because a marine center could be anything, and we want to have something that complements what's already on the island. You know, certainly want to complement the work that people at Sea Turtle Link do. We don't want to duplicate anything, and it kind of seemed to me that a fisheries orientation was quite appropriate because of the importance of sport fishing, commercial fishing to this region. So this vision really was to create an open air concept, and the open air concept really came from site visits to other marine facilities. Down in Key West, they had an open air aquarium that I was impressed with. A shark lagoon in California and San Diego. You know, during my travels, I would just always make point to stop at different places. But the open air concept was quite attractive to me from an operation and maintenance perspective. In this illustration, you see two shaded areas. One is an op center, and the other is the entrance hall in Embarcadero. Those are the only climate-controlled portions of this complex, but it's meant to be not only for education but for research. And different program elements that we might be able to do is to help support the marine stranding work that's done by the Coastal Studies Lab. They are in need of additional equipment and things like that, and support. So we've had several conversations with the folks there at the Coastal Studies Lab about what they might need and how we might be able to help them. We've also had discussions with the fishery scientist at UTB who has an ongoing interest in snook research. All of the stocking programs that Texas Parks and Wildlife do, of course they do a lot of the speckled, the spotted street trout and the redfish. They have to go through kind of a trial period. You have to prove that you can actually spawn the fish and grow the fish before they are eligible to enter into a state stocking program. The Op Center is also a place where you can have a lab and a teaching facility for educational purposes at the school. So we want to incorporate that, and then obviously at some point we want to support the stocking program down here in this region. These are some of the renderings of what it might look like. Embarcadero, kind of where you start your journey. You come to learn about the fish in this region, how to find a fish guide. There are about 150 fish guides now, as I understand, that we're operating on the island. This is kind of a conceptual layout of what it might look like. A total of about 160,000 gallons of exhibits, and as people walk around, they have an opportunity to be educated with the different ecosystems that we have, what a mangrove wetland looks like, and what kind of species live in the mangrove wetland, what lives under the sand, what creatures, you might have seen people on the beach with these tubes that kind of can suck up animals, but this is almost like an ant farm, an opportunity to kind of understand what's beneath the sand. And then obviously an exhibit that talks about the shallows, the shallow areas in the surf zone, the area in the seagrass beds to the jetties. What do we have out there in Laguna Madre? What kind of fish is in this region? And then the deep ocean for people to go offshore. You know, so it's a way to get people interested, to understand what's actually out there. We're starting to develop a partnership on the project, and obviously Cameron County is one of our original and big partners in this, as well as the South Padre Island EDC. You all together are the two property owners. We're hoping to get Lone Star Bank interested in becoming a partner as well. Might complement it. But, so we're at the beginning phases of this, I would say, in terms of how these things operate. You know, I call it visioning. We're somewhere. We're kind of in between visioning and development. Development where we're actively raising money, and that's kind of the area that we're in. We'd love to be able to acquire additional property for this vision, and then so we can start construction. So obviously there's some questions that we have to consider, because we do have a grant with the Coastal Impact Assistance Program, and we have to meet the schedule of that grant and try to figure out how we fulfill those objectives and allow for an expanded vision. And that's not uncommon in how large infrastructures are constructed. If you look at the different aquariums and such, they're built in phases, and that's kind of the way we're going to have to do that. So I have to sit down with Javier and Joe at Parks and Recreation Department and see exactly what we can do during this phase one with the CAP money as we continue to look for additional support. So that's an update on kind of the vision, and happy to entertain some discussions. And you know, obviously, to have it coordinated, and if we're going to coordinate it, we have to make some basic decisions in how we begin our very first phase. So I'm just going to put this back up, because one suggestion was that we have a single entrance and everything kind of tie everything in. But we also allow for an entrance to each facility off of Padre Boulevard, so they have their own entrances as well. So I'll stop talking and entertain any questions or discussions that you might have.
Come a long ways since the last time we talked. That's an amazing project.
You know, I think in visiting with some of the parties involved in trying to, you know, just have some support for Thor from our perspective, you know, I want to thank this court, because when we were looking at funding, the $175,000 was kind of like, you know, iffy when we started. And, you know, the idea that we were able to commit to him early and get him going on this project has allowed us to move into an area of tourism that to a large extent is non-existent in our area. That's true. And if you visit, it doesn't matter if you visit Key West, if you visit LA, San Diego, Alaska, wherever, you know, you see each of these little components possibly in a nursery setting. You see a component in a hatchery setting. You see a component in a marine mammal wildlife recovery center, but it's all segmented. Putting together something of this sort as a nature center that encompasses all of the different activities in all of the different areas is pretty much, I don't think I've seen this anywhere that I've visited. I don't know if there's a replication of something of this sort.
Well, Moody Gardens comes to mind.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
but
Moody Gardens is...
but a lot of these facilities they may just focus on one element of it, but there's so many interesting opportunities for partnerships that for me make it interesting. I mean, we've contributed, I mean, as a nonprofit, funding and in-kind support I'm not charging anyone because I just think it's a great project and like to try to see it move forward. We've done a number of presentations to the different groups on the island, Chamber of Commerce, breakfast, or coffee, as they call it, South Padre Chamber. Obviously, EDC gave us funding, so we wanted to present back to them first with this vision because they paid for it. And I've kind of made a standing offer that we're happy to talk and want to talk to anyone that has an interest in this and that can help shape it because I think it's a project that will certainly outlast me, and we want it to be something for the people that live here and their children after them. So it's open. The gentleman from Coastal Currents called me, so he said they were going to run a story on it, and so we'll see. And it's meant to be similar to the way we did Bahia Grande. We had just a great partnership with Cameron County Parks staff there, and were able to build a large partnership. And everyone pulled together and chipped in, whether it was the Boy Scouts or whether it was a large donor, and we ended up with 60-some partners. And I think everyone felt good about what we got accomplished, and I'd like this to be the same, where we're just I just see us as a manager or to help support it, but I see an opportunity for anyone to get involved that wants to.
Commissioner, I guess this would be a really good project to, if those BP monies are going to become available, to tap into those.
Yeah, and he's already doing his
that.
due diligence on those, the currently available and those in the future to be available also. So, but this fits like right into the concept of many of that vision that exists for the utilization of those funds. So I want to thank you, Thor, publicly in front of our commissioners here for the work you've done, because you've taken our little task and expanded it to be a very inclusive task that I think provides and will provide, whichever piece is added on as we go along, those educational opportunities, those tourist opportunities for visitors to our area, and hopefully, in the long term, the opportunity to improve the convention center area with an anchor hotel there that would be within walking distance of the premier Gulf of Mexico Nature Center.
A lot of potential.
Yeah, well, I thank you for the initial partnership. That kind of got it going. The plant center was the really, I mean, for me, the plant center. I mean, obviously, people had done a lot of work at the Sea Turtle Link and the birding center, but I think we're at a point where it makes sense for all of us to sit down together and see what we can do, to make this little part of South Padre Island in a unique destination that kind of recognizes the resources that we've got in this area.
We thank you very much. And,
thank you, Thor.
Need a motion to acknowledge report?
So moved.
A motion and a second to acknowledge reports. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Just one more comment.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Not in relation to Thor, but in relation to the world premiere of a documentary that's coming up at the end of this month. It is going to be premiered at the Birding Center on South Padre Island. And I was asked to invite Commissioner's Court by the guy that produced the documentary, and I don't know if all of us show up. I don't know if we have to post a meeting or what, but I was sending out an invitation to each one of you. Richard Moore has been working on this documentary for a number of years now. We can see it on PBS at a later date, but the world premiere, and it's going to be the Birds of the Laguna Madre is the title of the documentary. So it is invitation only. They have, because they only can accommodate so many people. But he asked me to ask this court and to let them know that they were all invited. Again, Peter, we need to post a meeting, I don't know, but
For a
legally.
public event like that, I don't think we need to post a
Well,
meeting.
I just want to make sure that we're
Legal?
covered, you know.
Would we need to post a meeting to show up to this world premiere if
To a
everyone
movie?
showed up?
To a 1-hour movie?
I think that would be considered a social.
Okay. I don't want to compromise the Gulf of Mexico Native Center because we all got together at a world premiere of a
Yeah.
burning movie, okay? A documentary.
Made for television?
Pretty much.
Maybe social event.
Okay, and I will forward those invitations to you by email in the next day, okay?
Item C, presentation, we saved the best for last. Presentation by the Cameron County Hazard Mitigation Grant Project. Mr. Hoskins?
I thought it was Odyssey.
I think it was
Judge Pro Tem, Commissioners, today's kind of a interesting day. It was 1 year ago today that we began the hazard mitigation project. It was October the 10th, 2012. Today I have with us Kathy Meek, who is our consultant for this project. We've been working on it for a year, and she's got some information to disseminate to you just to bring you up to speed as to what's been going on. Also want to advise everybody that's here within hearing distance to know that we do have a survey on our county website that we'd like people to go in and fill out to help us get more information to help with this project. And it doesn't take but a few minutes. If you log into the county website or the City of Harlingen website, just go to that link and help us by filling out the survey. I appreciate it. This is Kathy Meek.
Thank you for having me this morning. I really appreciate just taking a few minutes of your time late in the morning. I believe each of you had a project description in your packet. Charles provided to you. Do you have that?
Yes.
I have some extra copies if you don't.
We got it.
You have them?
They're in our packets.
Great, thank you. Again, I'm Kathy Meek. We're the project consultant assisting Cameron County and the City of Harlingen in development of a hazard mitigation plan. A little bit about H2O Partners. We're based out of Austin, Texas. We've been in business for about 13 years, and we provide an array of services for pre- and post-disaster planning, hazard mitigation, floodplain management, disaster response, and recovery. We have helped communities and counties develop hazard mitigation plans, over 500 hazard mitigation plans in the last 12 years. And I'm proud to say that we've had a 100% success rate in getting FEMA approval on these plans, and which we intend to do for your county as well. So as a project overview, Cameron County is sponsoring the development of a hazard mitigation plan which addresses the natural hazards that could potentially affect the planning area. And again, the planning area is unincorporated Cameron County and the City of Harlingen. So the other jurisdictions are not currently participating in this plan. The purpose of the plan is
Do you know of any of
Sir?
the other jurisdictions within Cameron County that have a hazard mitigation plan in place already?
Well, Cameron County and a number of other counties participated in a Cover the Border hazard mitigation plan, which we worked on, that was approved in, I believe, 2008. The state of Texas no longer allows more than 2 counties to develop a plan. You can no longer do large regional plans, but Charles reached out to the other jurisdictions within the county to see if they wanted to sign a letter of intent to participate. And the only response I understand we got was from the City of Harlingen.
So the answer is no?
No, sir.
Okay.
We did visit with a gentleman last night. What city was he from, Charles? And I suggested that he get with some of the other jurisdictions to form a group to go ahead and proceed with a planning efforts for a hazard mitigation plan for those groups.
Yes, I was here yesterday representing the parks, the county, and this hazard mitigation plan, and my concern was that how was the other jurisdictions notified? Because I was not aware, that we were notified. Charles did say he sent an email out to all the city managers, to all the to emergency coordinators from each, and but and I have to meet with the city manager because he is considered the emergency coordinator to find out if he was notified or not, because it's important that every community, especially the communities that are in the coastal communities, participate on this. Portersville, Laguna Vista, Los Fresnos, we're all in the Bayview. All those communities are in coastal communities, and if they don't participate, we're jeopardizing grant funds.
Right, that's a whole issue here.
That's the whole issue, and so we're gonna start looking into hopefully bringing those communities together and putting a plan together, but we need to, make direct contact with them, by phone, and call them. Hey, you know what? It's important that, that you participate in this and set up a meeting, a workshop. I think, and that's one of the things that we discussed yesterday,
Okay,
because
good.
It is very important, that everybody has those opportunities.
Thank you.
Just to address Joe's comment, the way this information originally went out was the Development Council notified all the emergency management coordinators or representatives, and we also took that same notification and sent emails to the emergency management coordinators for everyone in Cameron County. And the only one, unfortunately, that seemed to be of interest was Harlingen at the time. Since then, Joe and Portersville have expressed an interest, and Los Fresnos via Javier Mendez has expressed an interest. So those may come on, but because this grant has already been awarded, they would have to do their own thing. They could apply for another grant and hopefully be able to
But they
get
can
one.
do that as a group, though.
Yes, sir, and that would be the best thing, to try to cover the rest of the county as well, not just the rural portion, but the cities. And part of our plan will incorporate those facilities that we feel the county needs to be able to protect. Even if they're in a jurisdiction other than the county, we're going to try to incorporate those.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, sir, not at all. So the goal of the plan is to protect people and structures from the known natural hazards, develop and fund cost-effective projects to include in the plan, and minimize the cost of future disaster response and recovery. The intended results of the plan, FEMA recognizes now that post-Katrina, you just can't keep rebuilding and doing the same thing because the results are the same. So the hazard mitigation plan, through different projects such as 406, which allows maybe elevating a structure, flood-proofing a structure, relocating a structure if it's in a floodplain, provides eligible funding for these types of projects so that the result is different when you do have that disaster again. So we hope that it will break the cycle of damage, if you will, going forward and build better for different results. It supports immediate preparedness, response, and recovery, and it enables participants to receive higher priority for grant projects. In other words, when this plan is finalized, the projects that are included in this plan, when Harlingen and Cameron County go to the state and to FEMA to seek grant funding, those projects are already in this plan, and they immediately score higher with the state and FEMA and are prioritized for funding. So that's one of the primary benefits of this plan, is to have those detailed projects in the plan. The planning process is about 1.5 to 2 years long. We've had a series of workshops beginning from the kickoff to a risk assessment workshop where we presented the technical findings of the hazard risk Yesterday, we had a planning team workshop with Harlingen and Cameron County, and we began working on projects and filling out project worksheets. So you as commissioners out in your precincts, we would love to have discussions about projects you might see that are worthwhile out in the unincorporated areas. And there are hundreds of projects that can be considered based on the 10 different hazards identified in this plan, which I will share with you here shortly. So the planning team are the community officials, department heads, and county representatives. The stakeholder groups, which public outreach is a very important component of this plan. We've reached out to area businesses, the public through public meetings and public notices, and other interested groups. We've contacted the local newspaper. As Charles said, there's a link on the county website where folks can go and provide input and express interest in projects that they would see would be worthwhile for their community. The City of Harlingen has also posted that link to their website. So we are working to get the word out about this plan. So now that we're organized, we've also assessed through GIS analysis those hazards that are identified in the plan, analyzed the hazard risk. What are the historical occurrences of these hazards included in the plan? What would be the extent of damage to parcels and property and people should these disasters occur based on the hazards in the plan? What is the probability of the future occurrence of such a disaster and the impact to people and parcels? So the natural hazards that have been identified in this plan and prioritized, some of which you would imagine would be the top hazards and ranked the highest, would be flood, hurricane, tornado, coastal erosion. In addition to those, there is extreme heat, hail, thunderstorm, wildfire, and dam failure. So there's opportunity to develop projects that can be funded for each of these hazards included in the plan. And we've really gotten some great projects started. Different drainage projects that need to be done. Harlingen's very concerned about some areas of town that they've not yet been able to fund for drainage. Charles and I have visited about a number of different projects for the county. From your previous Cover the Border plan, Cameron County and Harlingen developed mitigation projects, some of which we will revisit because they may still be viable projects that were never funded that can be deferred into this plan. So we are just now looking at projects to include. So again, I encourage you, based on the hazards mentioned, different projects that may be considered for different parts of the county areas.
Have we had participation from some of the drainage districts at your meetings yet?
Not the drainage. We had Public
No?
Works.
Well, because most of them are outside of the municipalities, and they are directly responsible for, especially
Yes,
the
sir.
flooding issues.
Right.
I think we need to make sure that we reach out in a arm-twisting way to make sure that the projects that most of them have already identified through our previous exercise will get included in this process.
We would really welcome their input. Both the county and Harlingen provided me a very extensive list of agencies and utility districts and different organizations, and I've reached out to them twice now, and I've heard back from a few. But I would really, if I could have specific contact persons and information, I would really like to contact them because their input would be valuable.
We can forward those to you, so that
We've
you
already
can.
done that, but as an example, Port of Brownsville, we included them and sent notice to them.
Good.
So we are trying to get the word out, trying to get as much participation and input. You guys are a classic example of a source that we could utilize to, you know that there's a problem in your area, that we could fix with federal dollars, then we want to know about it, because that would possibly be a project that we want to consider including in the report. That's the only way we'll be able to tap into that federal money, if we've included it in this report.
Yeah, and there's been identified projects already, and I think probably David has access to a lot of those from the last report we did, what, 4 years ago? Where we identified, you know, the well, you know, the Lower Granite Development Council, through their funding process, had the grant to identify projects as a region. Those regional projects were, at the end of the day, broken down to each one of the counties. It included all the counties. It included Cameron County in a big way. I was a co-chairman for that committee, but we spent like almost $4 million developing that piece as a region. You know, if you can just use the Cameron County portion of that piece, nothing has changed since then. Zero has changed since then, actually.
I think that's the cover of the border report. Is that the one you're talking about?
The Resilient Communities Economic Development Report. And I'm sure that Ken would be more than happy to share that, because we've already gone through that exercise. We've reached out to every city, every drainage district, every utility district, anyone out there that has any impact on issues for hazardous type situations occurring. And we didn't cover all of them, but we covered, the main focus of the report was to have a resilient community after the fact, and making sure that we were economically viable. And I remember the port of Brownsville, you know, being one of the biggest players in that piece, because the economies around that particular port as it exists today, especially after the report you sent me the other day, where they have increased, you know, what is going on there by one of the highest percentages in the nation, you know, as far as what occurs. So the impact of some kind of a hurricane or a flood and keeping them from operating would have a huge economic impact for our area. So, but those are already, you know, let's not redraw the thing.
Right.
Let's use that we have there.
We're updating.
Yeah.
In essence, yes.
Okay. And before we reach out to everybody and bother them again for the same thing, get that piece. If there's questions, then we can reach out to the people.
Excellent, really appreciate that, because all those resources are important, as you say. This program is unique in that the types of projects that can be funded, there are so many types. You can update your local plans and regulations. You can strengthen your building codes. You can look at structural, you know, drainage projects, erosion control, natural system protections, preserving open space. There's just hundreds of projects. You can do public awareness and outreach programs, say for the elderly during times of extreme heat or drought. It's just limitless, the number of projects that can be funded under this program. It's unique. There are 3 grant programs. One is tied to disasters within the state. That's called the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. Following a disaster, the state of Texas gets X number of dollars for that disaster, part of which goes to fund these mitigation projects. One of the key factors to this program, and I say this, and sometimes people look at me funny and I have to repeat it, is that if there was a disaster that got a presidential disaster declaration, such as West Texas with the explosion, or flooding in Dallas, Texas, if this county has an approved hazard mitigation plan, you're eligible to tap into those funds, even if the disaster did not occur in your area. That's unusual, and that is a real benefit to this program. So most communities that, you know, they don't recognize the benefit.
Excuse me, so you're saying that money that was allocated to the West Texas explosion we could get even though we had nothing to do with?
That's correct. Now that money there's some priority given, of course, to West, but it's first come, first serve. And you get your project in there when they release the announcement for the grant funding come January. And if you have an approved hazard mitigation plan and you have a specific project outlined on the worksheets that we're putting them on, you get extra points for those projects, and you have a much better chance of being eligible for funding.
Okay, we need this project done by tomorrow.
Well, and two, it will be, because this is a long planning process, it will be 2014 before Cameron County has an approved hazard mitigation plan. It just takes that long. However, should you have a disaster in the interim, there's something called extraordinary circumstances that FEMA generally allows so that you can go ahead and begin applying for grant funds for your projects, even if your plan has not yet been approved. So there's some things about this program that's unique as a federal grant program, but you have to have an approved hazard mitigation plan. So that really is a summary of the project. We continue our outreach efforts. We are just in the early phase of developing projects, so I'm so appreciative that I could come here and visit with you today and get your input, Commissioner Garza, on other plans and programs that may help form a more comprehensive hazard mitigation plan. Maximize dollars using some of the existing plans that are in place, and look at projects you've already discussed. It should be a wish list, because you're not, your feet are not held to the fire to apply for grant funding on any of the projects. We encourage communities to put any and all projects that are eligible in this plan, because today you may not seek grant funding for a project, but in 2 years you might revisit that and say, well, I'm glad that's in the plan. We need to go for some grant funding for that.
Have we reached out to the school districts?
Yes, sir, we have.
And we didn't have any?
As far as I know, there was no
attendance?
No, sir.
The hospitals? We had attendance?
No attendance, but we reached out. And they are part of our.
Well, they need to be part of the participating planning group, though. I mean, even if they just designate someone so that we can have that opportunity in the pipeline.
We'll make an effort to make some phone.
You know, I mean, I hate to say this, Chuck, but a lot of people get emails from you so much, so often, that they don't respond. I mean, and that's, you know, you guys send out everything from impact weather to, you know, tropical warnings to everything, you know, and I think sometimes it gets lost. It might be that we need to utilize maybe the judge or somebody else to, I mean, I'd be more than happy in my precinct to reach out to the folks that I deal with, but I think we need to make sure to convey the importance of this to the different entities.
Good point.
I want to qualify, if I may. Yes, we would love to have hospitals, hospital districts, colleges, universities participating, other jurisdictions within the county to participate as stakeholders and provide input. Now, those that did not officially sign up to participate in this plan, such as Harlingen and Cameron County, they may still participate, and because Cameron County will have an approved plan, they can still apply for grants under this program. However, the only difference is those applications would need to come through the county or the city of Harlingen, whereas had they participated and signed a letter of intent, they could have applied for grants directly to the state on their own.
So we're the gatekeeper.
They can still apply for the grants, but they just have to be run through the city or the county.
It's not coastal, it's all. It's not.
Well, but we need all the communities.
I would like to see something more. I mean, we have, when you have your meetings for emergency preparedness, you invite like everybody into this room, you know. I mean, invite all these.
Have one of those.
Have one of those with the judge, you know. They seem to come for that. Because it's too important to exclude
Tell them there's a hurricane coming and they'll all show up.
some opportunity. I mean, it's after the fact it becomes a real problem.
You're right, it does. But I have offered to assist Joe, the planning grant program under two of these programs, HMGP and PDM, that's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and Pre-Disaster Mitigation, are both currently open and accepting applications for planning grants to develop a hazard mitigation project. So the timing is perfect now. And so he's going to rally the troops too, I think, and see about, moving forward with a separate plan for them. Finally, I want to say that the timeline for this, we are currently in the mitigation strategy phase of this project where we're starting to develop projects. So again, would love to have the input to help develop many projects that are worthwhile to include in the plan. The draft plan, we then will be writing the draft plan as we're developing projects. That takes about 3 to 4 months. And then once the draft plan is complete, it is sent back to Cameron County and the city of Harlingen and posted on those websites, and then they review the plan. Once we get their edits back, the plan goes to the Texas Division of Emergency Management, and it's due there by April 2014. So that's the timeline for the project, but again, we are still just about halfway through the project, so there's ample time to develop some of these great projects and look at these other resources to help us do that. Any other questions? Anybody else have questions?
Yes, sir.
I was thinking about you as you were speaking.
Most definitely.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate
I
it.
will forward you a copy of that document.
I really
And,
appreciate that.
The determining factor for it not continuing to move forward was because the Board of Directors of the Lower Rio Grande Development Council did not commit to funding it, and it was only like $4 billion that we needed.
That's it?
That was it.
Wow, is that all?
For the whole region.
You can never count on the cog.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We need a motion to acknowledge the report.
So moved.
Have a motion second to acknowledge the report. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Executive
Who's
session.
running things,
I need a
Brewer
motion
over
to go
there?
into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second to go into executive session. Items that will be discussed is a Spaceport Cameron County Economic Development Plan. That's A. A legal issue pertaining to the purchase and exchange of land. That's B. And C, incentives for SpaceX.